Fellow Taoist Jian, may I ask where these god spawns came from? They're clearly not demon beasts, Hengsheng asked after hearing the whole story of what had happened. He thought this was the right time to ask this question since they now owed him a favor. Well, not him, but the cat. Jian Zixuan frowned as he considered whether to answer the question. After a moment of silence, he finally sent a sound transmission directly through Hengsheng's mind to prevent others from hearing. Fellow Taoist Lan, what I'm about to tell you is dangerous knowledge. However, since your beast companion possesses the power of Tao, she should be able to shield you from the Faith Whisper, Jian Zixuan said. Hengsheng thought, it was called Faith Whisper? Hugh broken bar the voice that whispered inside my head, trying to brainwash me. The god spawn's origin is connected to a powerful entity. We call them Wu gods, godlike beings that dwell within the void Wu between worlds. Jian Zixuan said. Jian Zixuan said that Faith Whisper was a phenomenon that occurred when people were aware of the Wu gods' existence and somehow formed a spiritual connection with them, whether by praying to them or recklessly uttering their true names as Hengsheng did. Through that connection, the whisper would come, converting people into Wu god followers. The Faith Whisper could be prevented with strong willpower. However, for a low-rank cultivator like Hengsheng, his willpower was nowhere near enough to resist it. Another way to prevent the Faith Whisper from corrupting one mind was with the power of Tao. But Jian Zixuan said these were just standard methods. The Golden Sword sect chose another approach. They employed a powerful artifact that could protect all of their young disciples from the Faith Whisper. Hengsheng nodded as understood, to let Jian Zixuan continue. Most Jian Zixuan had said is what Hengsheng had already guessed since the system's quest had given him a hint about the Wu gods, ancient wars, and the 5 elemental seal. Until around 10 million years ago, Jian Zixuan's eyes narrowed. The god spawns started to appear. At first, we didn't know what they were, but after my sect elders investigated, they found that these monsters were born from the leaked aura of the sealed Wu god. This made us realize that the seal is damaged and weakening, Jian Zixuan said. Hengsheng finally understood what the god spawns really were. They were not naturally occurring creatures but beings created by the power of the Wu gods. Although they appeared to be mindless monsters, Jian Zixuan stated that from his sect's observation of their behavior over a million years, these monsters consistently moved toward the seal and attempted to destroy it, as if they were programmed for one purpose: to do whatever it takes to liberate the Wu gods from the seal. Why didn't your sect fix the seal? Hengsheng asked curiously. Jian Zixuan shook his head and said, we can't, since we are not the one who constructed it. What? Hengsheng was shocked. Please don't ask any more. I'm not allowed to say anything else, Jian Zixuan said. Thank you for informing me, fellow Taoist Jian, Hengsheng said with a bow. He knew pressing for answers would be useless. Cultivators were always inherently stubborn. Like I said, we're the ones who should be thanking you, Jian Zixuan said. Then he continued, there is one more thing I would like to ask you to help us with. I am hearing, Hengsheng said. Our situation is stable for now, but we can't keep fighting these god spawns forever. Our people are exhausted, and our resources are running dry. We might be able to hold out for a year, but who knows what those traitors will do next. That's why I'd like you and your beast companion to go out and exterminate them for good. With your two's strength, dealing with the traitors should be easy. Will you help us? Jian Zixuan asked. I'll do it. Are you coming? Hengsheng said, thinking about the axeman who dared to wound his beloved Yunsu. He was willing to do this for free, even if Jian Zixuan didn't ask. Jian Zixuan shook his head and said with a serious tone, I'm sorry, I can't. There's something else I haven't told you. A broken bar. There are traitors among you. A broken bar. His expression was grim as if this was a serious problem. That it? Hengsheng said. A broken bar. A broken bar. A broken bar. Gar-shing. Boom. The battle did not stop when the colossal wooden wall appeared. It only prevented the god spawn's movement for a while before they found a way to get inside the wall, either by climbing or destroying sections of it. Hengsheng observed the battlefield, Counting the number of the God Spawn army, he roughly guessed that they had around 10,000 of them. He was quite puzzled about where the Heavenless Tao cult had brought out so many God Spawns. He remembered that the number of God Spawns wasn't this large when he went to the enemy camp. He had also heard from Jian Zixuan that on the day that the cultist had launched a major attack, there were 3 humanoid god spawns appeared. These humanoid god spawns had power equal to that of Tier 4 beings or true body realm cultivators. Fortunately, those monsters were slapped to death by Yansu's paws before they could even take any action. He gazed at the cat, who appeared to be overly clingy for some reason, continuously rubbing her head against him. Meow. She tilted her head, asking what was wrong. Nothing. Hengsheng replied with a playful grin. I just thought you looked cute. Mew. She puffed up proudly. Of course. Thinking of her newfound strength, Hengsheng couldn't help but feel left behind. Who could have thought that just having a little of the Tao essence contained within her body would bring her strength to such ridiculous heights? Ding. Status. Name, Yansu. Race, Spirit Beast. Domestic Cat. Bloodline, Myriad Devourer. Unique, 5 agents. Divine, Preserver. Affinity, Neutral, Shadow, Yin, Yang, Wood, Fire, Water, Metal, Earth, Chakra. Cultivation Realms, Rank 3, 55.01%. Cultivation Techniques, A. Attainments, the Tao of 5 phases. Status Attributes, Overall Battle Power, Tier 4, S. Physical, Physique, Bloodline, Race, Tier 3, A. Energy, Qi, Divine Sense, Spiritual Power, Tier 3, A. Unity, Mind, Heart, Soul, Tier 3, A. Abilities Skills, Control, Proficiency, Knowledge, Tier 3, A. Traits, Innate, Special, Transcendent, Infinity Evolution, Tier Myriad Devourer, Tier 3, A. 5 phases, Tier 3, A. Preservation, Tier 3, A. Cultivated abilities, Spirit Nourishes, Affinity Physique. Skills, Claw Strike, Quick Step, Chi Blast, Chakra Detection. Hengsheng's eyes nearly popped out of his head at the system panel before him. Yansu, are you eating the God Spawn? Hengsheng asked hurriedly. Meow. A broken bar. Yansu let out a guilty-sounding mew, her ears flattening as she realized she'd been caught. Hengsheng sighed. Concern etched across his face and he said, Yansu, you better need to be more careful with what you eat. What if it's poisonous? And those ugly bastards a broken bar. What if consuming them corrupts your bloodline and turns you into some kind of abomination creature? She raised her paw to cover her mouth in horror, behaving as if she had just thought of this possibility for the first time. A chill ran down her spine when she considered her own circumstances as an ugly mutant cat. Meow. Meow meow. Our broken bar. She tried to explain what had happened. Usually, when the god spawns died, they quickly turned to dust and disappeared with the wind. However, within the Tao Fields area, they didn't turn to dust immediately for some reason. This allowed her to extract the bloodline essence from them. It's okay. Let's just remember this and don't be reckless next time. You should tell me about your new bloodline later. Right now, we've got a job to do. Hengsheng said. Meow. She responded with a pleading tone. Garp. Hengsheng and Yansu appeared in front of one of the god spawns. Before Hengsheng could take action, Yansu slapped it into dead meat with ease. I need to exercise my body a bit, Hengsheng said. He raised his hand toward the remaining colossal wooden wall that had yet to be destroyed, preparing to test the power of the divine rank artifact. Fire. Instantly, the colossal wooden wall that had stood still for a while ignited, burning with fire that started from within. This sudden change in the large object drew the attention of many cultivators. Hengsheng commanded the burning wooden wall with his divine sense, and it began to morph into a long shape like a serpent. Finally become the dragon of burning cinders. The burning charcoal wood dragon swept across the battlefield under Hengsheng's command. Each time it moved, the god spawns were crushed under its weight and heat. Ding. You have acquired 1,100 system points. You have acquired 900 system points. You have acquired 1200 system points. Ding. You have defeated the enemy. You have gained XP. You have reached the maximum level. XP will be accumulated until your mana level increases. It only took half an hour before the entire God Spawn's army was turned into ash. It's finally over. We did it. Yeah, it's all gone. The victory cheer rang through the whole place, but little did they know, it was not over yet. Everyone, Senior Brother Jian has called for a meeting. Gather here. In the area of the Golden Pagoda, not far from where its upper half had collapsed, cultivators from the Golden Sword sect and its allies gathered. The air buzzed with quiet murmurs of curiosity. Everyone wondered what Jian Zixuan was about to say, and why he called for a meeting. Was he announcing a reward, or perhaps revealing a new plan? What do you think this is about? Someone whispered. No idea. But shouldn't Senior let us rest? We've been fighting for days. I know, right? Who knows when the god spawns will return a broken bar. We need the break. The hushed voices drifted through the crowd, tension lingering in the air. Hengsheng and Yunsu hid in concealment mode, staying out of sight. He didn't want anyone to notice them, especially Yunsu, who had become quite popular among the cultivators for both her cuteness and her contributions in the battle against the god spawns. More importantly, he did not want to alert the traitors. Jian Zixuan stepped forward, with a few of his close aides following behind him. His presence immediately drew the attention of many, as everyone present already knew who he was and how powerful he was. Many still remember the scene of his sword cutting through thousands of god spawns with a single strike. Greetings, Senior Brother Jian. One of the Golden Sword sect disciple bow. Greetings, a broken bar. A broken bar. The others follow suit. A broken bar. The Silver Lotus Pavilion's disciples gazed at him with fascination. Most of these female cultivators saw men as useless, but a powerful young genius like Jian Zixuan was a rare treasure in their eyes. They giggled and tried to make themselves look attractive. They hoped he would notice them. Hengsheng observed the scene, unable to stop himself from cursing silently. These girls are hopeless. A broken bar. They're the same in every world, aren't they? After greeting each other, Jian Zixuan faced everyone present. His gaze swept across the crowd as he tried to sense any suspicious signs, but there were none. Then, he spoke. I apologize for disturbing you after such a long battle. I agree. We all need a break. His eyes narrowed. However, the battle doesn't end yet, Jian Zixuan said. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Some exchanged uneasy glances, while others stiffened, their expressions turning serious. What does he mean? One cultivator whispered. We're not done? Another muttered, disbelief in their voice. But I don't see any more god spawns here. Jian Zixuan gestured, making them silent. Then, Jian Zixuan draws his sword. Seeing Jian Zixuan's action, the atmosphere immediately becomes tense. There's a traitor among us, Jian Zixuan announced coldly. I command you all, anyone who jumps, attack them immediately. What? Everyone was confused. Even his close aides behind him didn't understand what Jian Zixuan was doing. However, before they had a chance to process anything, Hengsheng, who had been waiting for a while, cancelled the concealment mode and appeared in front of Jian Zixuan. This immediately made everyone's eyes turn toward him. They were shocked by the sudden appearance of an unknown person. Plus, with the words Jian Zixuan had just said, many assumed that Hengsheng was an enemy. But before they could do anything, Hengsheng took action. He pointed his finger at them, then shouted, Ding! 10,000 AP deducted. Supreme Order activated. Supreme Order. Traitors, I command you to jump on your own 2 feet. A voice rang out, echoing throughout the whole place. A broken bar. A broken bar. Thud 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 thud. A broken bar. Multiple loud thuds echoed as the traitors were forced to leap, their feet landing heavily on the ground. No, impossible. Jian Zixuan roared in an unbelieving tone, his expression filled with shock. It was because among the ones who jumped were those who had come from behind him. Xing Dai. Jian Zixuan's sword immediately stabbed right into the heart of Feng Dan. His heart ached like he was the one who was being stabbed. Thwack. Cough. Feng Tan coughed up blood. He could not believe he would end like this. Before he died, he sent his divine sense into the communication artifact and triggered the self-destruction order, destroying it and cutting off the connection between this place and the Golden Sword sect above. Ha broken bar you fool, a broken bar. Feng Tanya's dead. Jian Zixuan's eyes were bloodshot and filled with the feeling of betrayal. Feng Tan had followed him for a long time, and he considered him a younger brother. But who knew how long Feng Tan had been a traitor? Was it from the start? Thinking about it only caused him pain. Jian Zixuan gazed across the place and saw the battlefield, where the traitors, after being revealed, tried to flee into the woods. But he would not allow it. He disappeared from the spot to hunt down the traitors. A broken bar, a broken bar. Hengsheng observed the scene with mixed feelings. He saw many others facing the same situation, as Jian Zixuan finding out that their close ones were traitors. Among the 600 cultivators present, there were 20 traitors. It may not sound like a large number, but it was indeed significant. Imagine what these 20 could do if they pretended to help while, in fact, they were the ones leading others to their deaths. More than half of the traitors were killed on the spot. The others were lucky enough to slip away and flee, while the Golden Sword Sect disciples pursued them tirelessly. However, Hengsheng didn't think any of them would escape, because he saw Jian Zixuan himself move. He believed none of them would survive for long. Oh, I thought you were one of them. What a surprise, you're not. While Hengsheng's gaze swept across the place, he found someone he had suspected to be one of the bad guys, only to realize that they were not. You, Zhu Mingjun roared with anger. This person was the bully who tried to make Hengsheng kneel on the first day he came to this place, but of course, Hengsheng was not the one to kneel in the end. Around where Zhu Mingjun stood were the corpses of his former followers, as 5 of the traitors had been his underlings, and he had killed them himself. Zhu Mingjun sensed that Hengsheng was mocking him, but he did nothing, only roaring in frustration because he knew he was no match for the other side. He then walked away with the rest of his underlings, who were still shocked that their fellows were traitors. Hengsheng gazes at them before his gaze shifts to another group who walks toward him. Greetings, Big Brother Hengsheng. Lan Hengsheng bowed, his tone filled with excitement. He had suspected Hengsheng was here after spotting his cat on the battlefield a few days ago. Hengsheng's presence brought him a sense of safety, a comforting anchor while navigating among unfamiliar faces. Greetings, Big Brother Hengsheng. Lan Xuanyan and Lan Yuli bowed in unison. Though they had grown much stronger than before due to the power of the system, they still felt far from truly safe. Hengsheng's arrival eased that unease, if only a little. Greetings, my young brothers and sisters. I've heard you've been doing well. Keep it up, and don't bring shame to our clan. Hengsheng paused, his gaze shifting. My broken bar. What about you, young brother Xiaorong? Why aren't you coming to greet your big brother? Hengsheng said, emitting his dominant aura and extending it so that Lan Xiaorong could feel it. Lan Xiaorong trembled with anger, but he did not dare to say anything because he saw the cat on Hengsheng's head sharpening her claws while gazing at him. Greeting a broken bar, Lan Xiaorong said, bowing slightly. Where is big brother? Hengsheng asked. Lan Xiaorong clenched his fists tightly and replied, greetings, big brother Hengsheng. A broken bar. He lowered his head, not daring to show his bloodshot eyes to Hengsheng, afraid that any sign of rebellion might push him further. Good boy, Hengsheng said, tapping Lan Xiaorong's shoulder. As a reward for his discipline. Snap! Lan Hengsheng. Lan Xiaorong roared, his magic chi flowing through his spirit veins. Lan Xiaorong was about to unleash his wrath, but Lan Yuli came from behind and used her skill to put him to sleep. It seems brother Xiaorong is exhausted from the long battle. He passed out from sheer fatigue, she exclaimed, shamelessly spewing nonsense as she hurried to pick up his body. Sorry, big brother Hengsheng. I'll take care of his condition. Then, without waiting for a response, she carried him away. Hengsheng felt a little bad. After thinking about it, he realized they were no longer kids. Pushing Xiaorong and others too much would hurt their pride as men and cultivators. He promised himself that he would try harder to restrain himself from bullying others. Hengsheng talked with Beixing and Xuanyan for a while. They told him about their journey and how they got here, but they didn't mention anything about the system. They simply said their power-up was due to a lucky encounter. Big brother Hengsheng, would you join us in the next battle? Beixing asked. Hengsheng shook his head and said, no, Jian Zixuan asked me to help with something. It's over, Jin Daishan thought. Just a moment ago, he received 2 pieces of bad news from his servants simultaneously. First, they had lost contact with the Thunderclap Blade Sext group. After some investigation, they discovered that those guys' soul lamps had been extinguished, meaning they were most likely dead. Jin Daishan couldn't think of anyone or anything within the Outer Rim that could have caused their deaths, since most of the people capable of threatening them had already gathered at the Metal Seal Station. Another unknown variable appeared, a broken bar. The second piece of bad news was even worse. Their spy inside the Metal Seal Station had been exposed and all had been eliminated. This was a fatal blow to the cult's plan. The spies were their last resort, intended for use only at the very last moment or when the situation went wrong. If everything else failed, they had spent years carefully planting them inside the Golden Sword sect, and now, all of that effort had gone to waste. Everything went wrong. If they failed to destroy the Outer Rim Seal before the cult's army on the surface reached the Golden Pillar, their mission would be doomed. The million years of the Heavenless Tao cult's plan and preparation were about to be ruined because of his failure. Jin Daishan looked at the Golden Pillar from afar and thought about how things had progressed to this point. He and the others had done everything perfectly according to the plan, but the appearance of Lan Hengsheng and his beast companion had ruined everything. He racked his brain for a solution, how he could process to destroy the 5-element seal that was within heavy protection of the Golden Sword sect disciples in a short time. However, the lack of strength was a problem that could not be overcome easily, especially against that feline beast who seemed to possess a divine rank bloodline, its power on par with the peak stage of true body realm cultivators. He was helpless. He had no cards left to play. They were defeated. No, a broken bar. There's still one left, he thought, his mind racing, filled with madness. A broken bar. Thank you, fellow Taoist Hengsheng, we owe you a great debt this time, Jian Zixuan said. Hengsheng nodded and replied, no problem. If you don't want to owe me a debt, just pay me a spirit stone, and we'll call it even, Hengsheng said. Jian Zixuan chuckled, already expecting this response. Without hesitation, he pulled a space ring from his pouch. He had prepared a payment in advance, having come to understand Hengsheng's way of thinking. Hengsheng received the space ring, and then Jian Zixuan said a few more things about the next move to eliminate the traitors before leaving. Hengsheng returned to the cultivation chamber that the Golden Sword sect had prepared for him inside the Golden Pagoda. When he arrived, he found that the chamber's formation was down. Upon inspection, he discovered that it was already broken and the formation flags were shattered, and the natural chi flow was disrupted. He recalled that Blue had told him about the attack that split the pagoda in half. It seemed that the damage had also affected the formations in Sadia. Some had merely shut down, while others, like his cultivation chamber, were completely broken. Without wasting any more time, Hengsheng set up his own formations around the chamber, both protective and concealment formations before stepping inside. He still has some time before the next wave of God spawn has arrived from Jian Zixuan's prediction. Ding. System points, 7,855,000 SP. Meow. Growl. Yansu suddenly sensed that Hengsheng's aura had changed. When she turned to look at her human, she saw his face twist into a creepy smile. She couldn't help but feel threatened and immediately jumped away from him, retreating to the chamber's corner. Ha 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 ha, I am rich. Hengsheng laughed maniacally, already thinking about how to spend it. After a while, he finally calmed himself down. This was the first time he had such an insane amount of system points, all thanks to the god spawns he had killed earlier. Let's upgrade the spirit core first, Hengsheng murmured while opening the system panel. Hengsheng's spirit core was something he must prioritize at the top of the list, as it was essential to his whole cultivation progress. The spirit core represented raw talent as a cultivator. If he had not had the main system to enhance every aspect of him as a cultivator, he might not have been this strong or had such an easy time comprehending the laws and oaths with just a mortal rank spirit core. This time he finally brought his spirit core into the divine rank. Ding. 100,000 system points deducted. Upgrading the quality of the spirit core. A broken bar. The flame of creation appeared just like last time, its 7 colors still marvelous to him. He did not waste this opportunity and began comprehending the nature of the 7-colored flame, further deepening his understanding of the fire law. Ding. Skill level up. Skill. The law of fire has reached LV 28. A broken bar. Ding. Skill level up. Skill. The law of fire has reached LV 31. The flame of creation gradually disappeared into the emptiness, as if it had never been there before, leaving only the system-neutral spirit core, which now had a clear, glass-like surface. It was a trait that all divine rank spirit cores should have. Ding. The spirit core quality upgrade complete. Ding. Spirit core, system-neutral spirit core. Divine. Hengsheng unleashed his divine sense through the whole chamber as he tried to sense the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It was, as he expected, that the divine rank spirit core was on a completely different level from other grades. It not only significantly enhanced the mobility and effectiveness of his own spiritual chi, but it also drew him closer to the Tao of heaven and earth, enabling him to achieve a deeper understanding of the world's natural order with greater ease. He senses that he might be able to perform some low-level heaven-rank chi techniques if he is careful enough not to overwhelm himself with heaven and earth's chi. Can I change the spirit core type? Hengsheng thought. The divine spirit core was a great thing, but the spirit core type was also a factor. If he had a powerful type spirit core on top of the divine rank spirit core, then he would be like a tiger with wings. He immediately tested his idea with the upgrade function. Ding. Upgrading spirit core type. System neutral spirit core. A system chaos spirit core acquires 100 million system points. Confirm upgrading. Cancel. A broken bar. He thought. Looks like it'll have to wait until next time. Hengsheng opened his eyes and observed his surroundings and time. He found the translucent mucus like the last time he quickly stored it inside his system world store. It was a good treasure that helped him refine spiritual chi at an extreme speed. The next thing that needed to be upgraded was a broken bar. The race. The race was the only aspect of him that had never reached the same height as his cultivation level. Since he had only recently gained its power, he knew that once it reached the same height as his cultivation level, its power would not disappoint him. Upgrading human race to tier 3 requires 100,000 system points. Human race upgrade options. A broken bar. A broken bar. Ding. Mega human evolution selected. 100,000 system points deducted. Human race evolution in progress. A broken bar. Human broken bar. There is no warning like the last time. This was a good sign for him. It meant that he could tolerate the pain of the upgrade process. An itch began to form inside his body, as if millions of insects were crawling beneath his skin. His body twitched because of the itch. Meow. Broken bar. Yansu's eyes stared at him with a pathetic look. Her human liked to act weird, unlike other humans. Hengsheng's divine sense witnessed the effects of the upgrade process on his body. His cells were breaking down and recreating rapidly, one cycle after another. Each time a new cycle passed, the cells and DNA were gradually transforming. This made him think about the theory of evolution. With each generation, living beings slowly change their DNA little by little. Only after a long time, like a million years, does the difference become noticeable. The race upgrade he was undergoing now seemed to follow this theory, but instead of passing through generations, it was happening to him in a single process. Usually, the human body constantly repeats the process of rapidly creating new cells to replace the dead ones. However, unlike this usual process, the upgrade made his cells and body bypass the normal evolution process through rapid creation and destruction, millions of times faster than the normal process, as though his body had gone through countless cycles in a short time. The energy released from all the processes happening inside his body, the energy began to accumulate, causing heat to build up within his flesh and blood. His body turned red, and steam billowed out of his pores like he was a steam engine. Ding. Mega human evolution complete. Traits. The sun gaze genetic, tier 3, S. Timber grasp genetic, tier 3, S. Hengsheng clenched and unclenched his fists to test his newly increased power level after the race upgrade was completed a while ago. He was now a mega human, the realm beyond a meta-human. There wasn't much difference between the two realms, except that his body strength and durability had multiplied tenfold, his control over genetic trait abilities had become more flexible, and the spiritual chi stored within his cells had increased in both quality and quantity. Overall, it only enhanced what he already had. There was no new ability or trait. Most importantly, the upgrade gave him a great bonus, so it restored his left arm. He was no longer disabled. Losing an arm had affected his ability to mobilize spiritual chi, since the spirit vein was missing along with it. Thanks to his main system's control assistant, he had managed to overcome this limitation. Otherwise, he would have needed to retrain himself in manipulating spiritual chi before being able to use it in battle again. Hengsheng picked up the timber grasp cycle that had fallen to the ground after his arm was restored. He sent an order through the bond, and the prosthetic arm began to transform itself. Crack, creak, grow, and a broken bar. It slowly moved and expanded its wood until it became a wooden gauntlet. Cool, Hengsheng murmured. His inner child could not help but rejoice. He wanted to bring out the verdant divine crystal and place it on the gauntlet as decoration. Maybe I should find 5 more gems of different colors and complete the infinity gauntlet, he muttered with a chuckle as he joked to himself. He put on the timber grasp cycle and thought about what to do next. Hengsheng opened his system panel and checked what he could upgrade. He found that he could upgrade his race once more to tier 4 rank. It would cost him 1 million system points, and not too much, and he could afford it. However, he chose not to, as he had just undergone a race upgrade, and his cells and DNA had yet to stabilize. The system warned him that there was a chance of failure, and to prevent it, he would need to spend another 1 million points to stabilize his body. It would be a waste of system points. He could simply wait for a while until, along with the army, Hengsheng swiftly killed them all, not letting them roam and causing problems for them later. They finally arrived at what they thought was the place. To Hengsheng's surprise, he had expected them to move into the bamboo forest and go to the place where he had fought with an axeman and a cultist, but they did not. That was because, before they had a chance to enter the bamboo forest, which Hengsheng could see 10 kilometers away from where he stood, something had stopped them. Something that he didn't know how it appeared or when it came to be stood between the two territories. It was a rift valley. This place had never existed before. When he moved back and forth between these two territories, it appeared as if the land between them had moved apart and created a linear-shaped lowland between the highlands. The linear was so long that he could not see where it ended, and it was as wide as 10 kilometers. Hengsheng couldn't see the ground below clearly due to the blue mist enveloping the whole place. Without glimpses of the ground while the mist flowed, he might have believed it was a high cliff. Fellow Taoist Jian, do you know this place? Hengsheng asked. Yes, a broken bar. Jian Zixuan replied, his voice trailing off. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed when he saw the uneasy expression on Jian Zixuan's face. Jian Zixuan noticed Hengsheng's gaze and began to tell what he knew about this place. This place appeared at the same time the god spawn began to appear. The Golden Sword sect calls it the cracks of the seal of the rift. This rift will emerge where the sealing power of the 5-element seal is the weakest, causing the entire area inside the rift to overflow with the aura of the Wu gods. Rifts like this had appeared from time to time anywhere in the secret land, not just in this place, when the sealing power was weakening for whatever reason. However, the Golden Sword sect always resolved them by activating the seal formation, causing them to disappear. If this place is left open and not closed, the god spawn will spawn inside the rift and crawl out, causing more damage to the secret land. So this place is the reason the god spawns could keep coming after us as if their numbers are endless? Hengsheng asked. Most likely, yes, a broken bar, Jian Zixuan said with a grave expression. So how do we close this place if the sealing formation isn't ready? Hengsheng asked. Jian Zixuan shook his head and replied, unfortunately, to my knowledge, there's no other way. Our best option now is to retrieve the seal as quickly as possible before the rift spawns a powerful god spawns. Hengsheng nodded. The last thing Jian Zixuan told him about this place was that if they left the rift unchecked for too long, the god spawn that spawned inside would become more powerful as time passed. It could be as strong as a true body realm cultivator regularly if it was never closed for a year. Are they inside? Hengsheng asked. Jian Zixuan closed his eyes while holding the compass artifact in his hand, using it to pinpoint the location of the element seals. They're in the same location right in the middle of the rift, Jian Zixuan said. What? That's so close, we could jump right onto their heads, Hengsheng exclaimed. Jian Zixuan shook his head. We can't do that. Inside the rift, time and space are distorted. Time moves faster, and space stretches wider. And if we jump straight to the center due to the time and space disorder, we might end up somewhere completely different. It's safer to enter from the rim. Hengsheng's eyes closed as he heard what Jian Zixuan told him. Before, he did not like the idea of time and space disorder as it caused him headaches, but now, thanks to the memory of Samuel Barlow, he understood the science to some extent. Jian Zixuan continued after seeing Hengsheng nod in understanding. We're lucky we found it early. This place shouldn't have existed for more than a month, so time inside should flow at twice the speed of the outside world, and the space should be twice as vast. Reaching them won't be too difficult to Broken Bar, but there's one last problem. What it's? Hengsheng asked. Inside the rift, God spawns are constantly spawning. Their numbers are endless. They could overwhelm us before we even reach the traitor's camp, Jian Zixuan said, his expression grim. Hengsheng smirked when he heard that. Don't worry, they won't notice us. I have an incredibly good concealment technique, Hengsheng said confidently. Jian Zixuan's expression was confused, and then he said, no matter how good your technique is, there's no way to avoid being noticed by countless god spawns. 20 minutes later, Hengsheng, Yansu, and Jian Zixuan walked through the blue mist. This mist did not obstruct their vision like it had when they saw it from the outside. They walked past countless god spawns crawling around as they searched for a way out of this place. Surprisingly, none of the god spawns seemed to notice their presence at all, as if they were invisible to all the god spawns' senses. Jian Zixuan thought to himself, what a terrifying concealment technique. He observed his hand, now covered by a layer of transparent aura. This is the power of law. This Lan Hengsheng is a mystery. A Broken Bar. Where did he learn to wield the power of law to this extent? What's wrong, fellow Taoist Jian? Hengsheng asked through a sound transmission because he saw Jian Zixuan's expression grim. Nothing, fellow Taoist Lan. I was just thinking about something else, Jian Zixuan replied. That's good. Oh, it seems like we're almost at our destination, Hengsheng said, while he began to notice a large temple from afar. The blue mist swirled and formed into shapes, becoming a god spawn. This sight was something Hengsheng had witnessed many times since stepping inside the rift. The blue mist continuously spawned the god spawns, rendering this place swarmed by countless god spawns. There were probably more than 1 million of them swarming here. However, Hengsheng was not afraid of them at all. Instead, he saw them as a massive trove of treasure. His right eye saw them as system points, and his left eye saw them as XP. If not for his mission taking priority, he would have already fought them all to claim his reward. How do we get in there? Jian Zixuan asked, staring at the temple in front of him. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed as he sent his divine sense to investigate the temple's interior. The result was not good. The blue mist, even though it did not obstruct their eyes, heavily obstructed their divine sense, so they could only rely on their eyesight. We go in the front gate, Hengsheng said. Jian Zixuan nodded, and he led the way. The temple before them was tall and massive. It was not like one that had just been built but an ancient ruin. The walls were broken and decayed, yet they still radiated a sacred aura. When they reached the front gate, they found no one guarding it. In fact, they didn't see anyone at all, not even a god spawn roaming around. This is the trap, Jian Zixuan said. I don't know, but they shouldn't know that we were here, Hengsheng said. Yansu, who had been silent atop Hengsheng's head for a while after we were inside the rift, sniffed the air at the front gate. Suddenly, her fur stood up. Hiss. Yansu hissed, feeling threatened. Hengsheng gazed at the cat and he asked, Yansu, what's wrong? Meow. Broken Bar. Yansu noted as she smelled a terrifying scent inside the temple. Hengsheng's expression was grim. A powerful being? Hengsheng asked. Meow. Broken Bar. Yansu cries, saying that it was likely the case. Hengsheng frowned. He knew that Yansu was extremely powerful as she was op as hell. Even 10 current Hengsheng might not be able to match her power, but something inside the temple had made her feel threatened. It was hard to believe. Fellow Taoist Jian, Yansu told me that something dangerous inside, Hengsheng said. Jian Zixuan's eyes narrowed. He knew how strong Yansu was, a demon beast that succeeded in comprehending the Tao. She likely possessed a divine bloodline, which was the only explanation for such a feat. But even with that, if she said something was dangerous here, it meant it was dangerous by her standards, which was deadly to someone like him. Let's be careful. I'll lure them away while you stay hidden and focus on retrieving the elemental seal. What do you think? Hengsheng suggested the plan roughly. Jian Zixuan nodded in agreement. Understood, fellow Taoist Hengsheng. I'll stay hidden and focus on the element seal, Jian Zixuan said. With the role concluded, Hengsheng exited his concealment mode, and then stepped into the ruined temple gate. An unfamiliar sensation enveloped him immediately, as the atmosphere inside the temple was different from the outside, as if it were a different world. He sensed that heaven and earth's qi in this place were especially weak for some reason. Most importantly, the laws inside this place were not the same as outside. It felt more like the laws that he sensed from the god spawn. He assumes he might really enter the other world, not just metaphor. Before he could think any further, he felt something invade his mind. Pray to the Lord, a broken bar. Pray to the Lord, a broken bar. A broken bar. Ma broken bar. Faith whisper, a broken bar. Hengsheng murmured. Yansu noticed the whispers as well. She was completely fine because of the Tao essence within her, but she worried for Hengsheng. She tapped her paw on his head and sent her qi, mixed with Tao aura, to eliminate the whisper's influence on his mind. The warm sensation enters Hengsheng's body. It quickly expels the foreign aura out of him. Thanks, Hengsheng said. He also looked back at Jian Zixuan to ensure he was okay, but he saw that Jian Zixuan didn't seem to notice the whispers at all, as if they had never reached him. This must be due to the sect's artifact that protected the sect disciples' mind, as Jian Zixuan told him. Hengsheng continued to walk in the direction of the element seal that Jian Zixuan had pointed out to him. On the way, he spotted corpses of humans wearing black robes with black masks. Are the cultists? Are they killing each other? Hengsheng examined the corpses and found what cause had killed them. Their blood and energy had been sucked out, leaving them as dry husks. He kept his suspicions to himself and moved forward. This place was silent, as if there were no people. Hengsheng frowned as he moved forward. He did not see any living cultists at all, only their corpses were found, as if all of them were already dead. Hengsheng had already found more than 100 dry corpses along the way. He was pretty sure something had happened here. He thought about one thing when he saw a scene like these, a demonic art. The scene he saw here was no different from what he had read in the clan's book about a demonic cultivator. They practiced demonic arts that involved the heavenly sin. The heavenly path was the mainstream way of cultivation and living that the heavenly Tao heavily promoted to convince people to follow. However, the heavenly Tao was not a very good fellow. If it were a person, its neutral stand between virtue and sin. Whether people under heaven chose virtue or sin, heaven would reward them accordingly as long as they followed the heavenly path. The heavenly sin was one of the roots of the heavenly path, the demonic one that pursued quick and easy power. This path often involves harming people in order to advance, or even harming oneself. Mostly walked by those born with no or low cultivation talent, or those naturally born as murder hobo psychopaths. However, quick and easy power was not without a drawback, as they had to bear the weight of the sins they committed along their path as well. These scumbags often have a hard time when it is time to attain the Tao. Hengsheng thought. Hengsheng walked past multiple passages and halls before finally reaching the heart of the temple. It was the only place that seemed to have no damage, not a ruin like the others. A hundreds-meter tall pyramid-shaped building hall. This building is about 500 meters tall. It's so large, Hengsheng thought. He was quite used to how large buildings in this world could be, but he still had a bit of the mindset of an earthling and couldn't help but feel amused every time he saw a massive structure. Hengsheng observed his surroundings and found hundreds of corpses, a pile of dry corpses stacked together into the small mountain of corpses not far from the hall. Surprisingly, the hall itself was clean, with no traces of battle or blood staining it, despite the obvious bloodbath that had occurred here, as evidenced by the pile of corpses. Hengsheng could not sense anything inside with his divine sense, but even he knew that the enemy was there with the elemental seal. He further examined the hall's walls. It was built with thick stone, and the entrance was small and narrower, 5 meters tall and 2 meters wide. It was small despite its large structure, with no windows. Hengsheng recalled the memory of his past life. This temple clearly was a Hindu temple. What is it called? Manda? Hengsheng thought. This place must be a sacred chamber where the main deity's idol is enshrined, the Sanctum Sanctorum. Without more hesitation, he stepped inside the sanctum's entrance. The first thing he saw inside the sanctum was that he appeared in a sea of stars, as if he were standing in the middle of the vacuum of space. Billions of stars shone brightly in the distance. He looked ahead and saw 3 statues of gods. They were huge, bigger than planets, emitting a sacred aura, and he recognized them. They were the statues of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the Trimurti. What the hell? Hengsheng was shocked by the scene. He looked down at his feet and found that he was standing on an invisible platform. Then, he looked behind him and saw the exit door. Stomping his foot down with a little force, he sensed a hard sensation, like stone. This place is like an illusion, Hengsheng murmured. You are right, this place was an illusion. The voice rang from the distance. Hengsheng's eyes turned sharp as he gazed in the direction the voice came from. He found a man with light skin, standing 5 meters tall, fierce-looking, with 2 fangs protruding from the top of his mouth and curving upward, and sharp, claw-like fingers holding a large battle axe with one hand. This man clearly not a human, more like a demon. Despite the demonic features, Hengsheng recognized the features on the man's face. There was no doubt this was Jin Daishan. Jin Daishan, a broken bar. You've changed a bit, haven't you? Hengsheng said, eyeing the opponent carefully. Oh? You actually remember me? I'm flattered. Jin Daishan smirked but was still calm. It's hard not to, Hengsheng sneered. You and your army were torn apart by my cat, and ran off with your tails between your legs. Hengsheng chuckled playfully. Tell me, how does it feel to be humiliated by a mere pet? Hengsheng said. He was baiting Jin Daishan, watching for any crack in his composure. Ever since stepping into this sanctum, he couldn't sense his opponent's aura, just like when he had faced the god spawn. It unsettled him. Jin Daishan seemed to sense something. He calmly smiled and said, Lan Hengsheng, you're not as clever as I thought. There's no point in trying to provoke me unless you're in a hurry to meet your end. You know my name. Spies, I assume? Hengsheng narrowed his eyes. Jin Daishan's smirk widened. Does it matter how I know? I know what you are. I know where you come from. His voice was cold, detached. Hengsheng raised an eyebrow, his expression unmoving as he replied, if you think threats against my clan will shake me, you're mistaken. I already know about the wars above. Your dynasty, along with the other 3 first-rate forces, will be crushed by the Overlord. You're doomed. Hengsheng tried to lead Jin Daishan into revealing information. This was a great opportunity, as he sensed instability in Jin Daishan's emotions. Previously, he appeared arrogant at first but suddenly became cold. Jin Daishan, after hearing Hengsheng's words, raised his lip and let out a soft laugh, like he had just heard a funny joke. I did not threaten you, I merely reminded you of the consequences for opposing me, he said, his voice dripping with disdain. Consequences, huh? You seem pretty confident for someone who's just hiding in a place like this. What exactly is it that you're trying to accomplish here? Hengsheng asked, pressing forward, aiming to pry more information out of Jin Daishan. You're bad at this, you know. If you want answers, at least try to be subtle, Jin Daishan said, his voice dripping with mockery. He seemed to find Hengsheng's attempts to probe amusing. You should know, I'm a prince of the great Golden Kingdom. Reading people's intentions comes naturally to me, especially when they're as obvious as yours. Hengsheng's gaze hardened for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. Jin Daishan was too sharp to fall for simple tricks. Hengsheng knew he could not get anything from the interaction anymore, so he secretly circulated his qi, ready to fight outright. Jin Daishan let out a low laugh. And then he said, "I really pity you." "Pity? What do you mean by this?" Hengsheng asked. Jin Daishan smiled and said, "I meant, it would be a shame for someone like you to die here." He paused and then continued, "I really admire your talent in cultivation. Even though you come from a low-class clan, you can push yourself to be compared to the immortal seeds of the Overlord." His tone was filled with both compliments and envy. "But unfortunately for you, being born in this heartless, endless struggling world means that one day, you will be crushed by someone even more talented than you." "That was a pity," Jin Daishan said. "So I'll make you an offer. Join me, accept the true God." Jin Daishan offered. "Join you? What a joke." "I may consider it if you answer my question," Hengsheng said. "You are testing my patience." "I suggest you don't," Jin Daishan said with a smirk. "You should know by now that I am far more powerful than you," Jin Daishan said, his tone turning cold. Then, he emitted a powerful aura from his body, allowing Hengsheng to sense it. Hengsheng sensed the aura, and his heart sank. He could tell from it that Jin Daishan was not bluffing. He had truly become very strong, almost on par with Yansu. However, Jin Daishan retracted his aura, as he did not intend to reveal more of his strength before the battle. He continued, "I'll humor you. I'll answer your question, but you'll answer mine," he said. Hengsheng's gaze sharpened. "That form of your broken bar and that aura, did you acquire them by sacrificing those corpses outside?" Hengsheng asked to confirm his suspicions while also secretly sweeping his gaze across the sanctum in search of the elemental seal. "Yes, they served their purpose for one last time. If it weren't for someone like you messing around in other people's business, they wouldn't have had to meet their end like this," Jin Daishan said with a twisted smile. "Their blood and souls are now a part of me," Jin Daishan said, his voice laced with something unnatural. Then, his flesh writhed. Hundreds of eyes bloomed across his body, from head to toe, each one shifting, rolling, alive. Hengsheng's breath caught. A chill crawled down his spine. These eyes held something of expressions of sadness, anger, and despair. They darted around erratically across Jin Daishan's skin, as if screaming without sound. These eyes held souls. This scene stimulated his human instincts, screaming at him to flee from this abomination. "You are a broken bar. What have you become?" Hengsheng spoke in shock. Hundreds of eyes sank back into Jin Daishan's body. "What have I become?" Jin Daishan's voice trembled with something raw: rage, desperation, conviction. His countless eyes widened, their eerie glow flickering. "I have become what I must be to fulfill my mission." His body tensed as he threw his arms wide, his roar shaking the sanctum. "I have become the demon. I have become Rakshasa." Jin Daishan roared. The sheer force of his declaration rippled through the air, like a storm ready to consume everything in its path. Then, a sinister aura erupted from Jin Daishan, spreading outward like a tidal wave. It surged toward Hengsheng and Yansu, thick and oppressive, as if trying to swallow them whole. Hengsheng was alarmed. As he sensed the aura approaching, he quickly shielded himself instinctively with his qi. "Hiss!" Yansu hissed, then emitted a Dao aura to cover both herself and her human, preventing them from direct contact with the sinister aura. The sinister aura, blocked by the Dao aura, could not reach them. Jin Daishan's expression turned dark when he saw that his opponent could resist his aura, especially the cat demon beast. He hadn't had a chance to fight against a beast head-on before, but he knew it was stronger. He just hadn't expected it to match his new strength. Jin Daishan retracted his aura since it couldn't force his opponent to kneel. Then, he gazed at Lan Hengsheng, who stood tall, seemingly unafraid of him. "Now, it's your turn," Jin Daishan said, his voice low and dangerous. "Join me, or die." Hengsheng adjusted his stance, hardening his heart as he knew the battle was about to erupt. He had already spotted the elemental seal. It was behind Jin Daishan, placed on a stone table similar to the one at the Golden Pagoda. It was some kind of formation. Hengsheng guessed that Jin Daishan must have used it to open the rift. He sent a sound transmission to notify Jian Zixuan about the seal, who was hiding at the entrance. He spent 100,000 system points to activate concealment mode for Jian Zixuan, hoping that Jin Daishan would not spot him. After ensuring everything was ready in a second, Hengsheng gazed at Jin Daishan before his lips parted. "I refused," Hengsheng uttered. Jin Daishan's lips curled into a sinister smile, his demonic fangs glinting in the dim light. He wasn't angered by Hengsheng's refusal. In fact, it was what he had hoped for all along. Had it not been for the Lord of all senses commanding him to persuade Lan Hengsheng to join the faith, he would have already killed him the moment he stepped into the sanctum. But now, with Hengsheng's rejection, the path to death was finally clear. Ha ha ha. A broken bar. Jin Daishan suddenly laughed maniacally, which confused Hengsheng. Hengsheng quickly takes a battle stance ready for a sudden movement from the opponent. Jin Daishan regained his composure, his gaze locking onto Lan Hengsheng. His voice was cold as he spoke. "Do you remember what I said?" Hengsheng narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" Hengsheng replied, his tone confused. "I told you," Jin Daishan said, his smile widening once more. This smile was the last thing Hengsheng saw. "This place is an illusion." Before Hengsheng could react, Jin Daishan vanished from his sight, as though he had never existed at all. Hengsheng's primal instincts screamed at him to move here now. But it was too late. His vision blurred, the world spinning around him. No, it wasn't the world that was spinning, it was his head. Thud, thud, thud. His head slammed into the floor, his eyes wide in disbelief. He could scarcely comprehend what he saw at his own feet. His mouth opened wide. He rolled his eyes upwards. He saw his body, the headless body. Hengsheng's vision darkened, his senses numb as he stared at the floor. His severed body fell on the ground and twitched, a final, gruesome reminder of his failure. Then, everything went black. The end. MC is dead. The story is ended. Ding. The strongest cultivator system. A emergency protocol initiated. A. Automatic system activation. A. Heavenly insight mode activated. 100,000 system points deducted. Inspection mode activated. 100,000 system points deducted. Concealment mode activated. 100,000 system points deducted. Absorption activated. Absorbing dimensional essence. 100,000 system points deducted. Upgrade activated. Overall battle power. A temporary boost. Tier 4 CA Tier 4 B. 10 million system points deducted. Time remaining. A. 1 hours, 00 minutes, 00 seconds. Supreme Order activated. Wake up. 10,000 administrator points deducted. Hengsheng's eyes immediately widened. Golden rings of light appeared within them, radiating a profound power that expelled falsehood from his mind, heart, and soul, plus the power of the order making him wake up from the veil of illusion. He sensed the danger was coming right after he woke up. Reacting instinctively, he executed a defensive technique. A pure chi surged forth, forming a large white shield before him just as a dark sinister blade of energy struck him. Crash! The shield shattered instantly from the crash. Boom! The impact sent him hurtling backward more than 10 meters. His feet skidded across the ground before he forced himself to a stop, regaining his balance despite the force of the blow. Time remaining. 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Clang! The sound of metal crashing against each other rang before him. Hengsheng sweeps his gazes around with his golden eyes. In the sanctum he no longer sees a sea of stars. The sanctum before his eyes now appeared like a world of strings of the threads of laws. He knew it was due to heavenly insight mode. He quickly adjusted his vision, and soon, everything became something he could comprehend. Clang! Hengsheng's vision had returned. Still, he no longer saw a sea of stars filled with a billion starlight. Instead, he was now standing in the middle of a dead universe. There was no starlight. The massive god statue was gone, almost total darkness. The only light source in the sanctum came from the sky above, from a supermassive black hole, more precisely, from the event horizon surrounding it. Standing here, he felt as if the darkness was swallowing him. Time remaining. 59 minutes, 58 seconds. Clang! Hengsheng gazes at the battle in front of him. Yunsu is now faced off with Jin Daishan. She was very swift. She jumped into the darkness, disappearing and reappearing to attack her opponent from an unexpected angle with her sharp claws and powerful chi. Each attack was backed by the power of Tao, bending the laws and reality to her whim. Jin Daishan, on the other hand, was not inferior to Yansu either. His fighting style was just as barbaric as when he fought as a human. However, Hengsheng noticed something was not right. He could not sense any chi from Jin Daishan at all. Instead, he sensed an unknown energy in every move Jin Daishan made. This energy felt more like magic than even his own mana. It followed Jin Daishan's command as if bending reality directly to his whim without the need for a technique. He conjured 1,000 axes, sending them flying toward Yansu, then expanded himself into a 100-meter-tall giant and stomped on the ground, before transforming himself into a big black dog chasing after Yansu. The fight was intense, with neither able to kill the other. When Yansu was injured, she healed instantly thanks to her new bloodline. Jin Daishan also possessed the same ability. This created a stalemate where neither could tell when the other would succumb to their wounds, leading to an uncertain, endless battle. Time remaining: 59 minutes, 57 seconds. Hengsheng noticed that while Jin Daishan was fighting Yansu, he seemed to be focusing on something else as well, as if he were searching for something. Hengsheng could tell that Jin Daishan was trying to find him, but unfortunately for the latter, Hengsheng was now in concealment mode. Powered by 100,000 system points, he could not be exposed as easily as last time at the cultist camp. Boom! Yansu shot her beast ball right at the giant's head, causing it to burst off completely. The impact sent him crashing to the ground, almost the same scene Hengsheng had experienced earlier. Hengsheng finally calmed himself after the gruesome experience. The illusion had felt real. If he hadn't been pulled out of it, he would have ended up just as he had seen. He checked the time on the system panel and found that he had been trapped in the illusion for 10 seconds. That was fatally longer. If not for Yansu's protection, he might have been doomed this time. How could I be trapped in an illusion this powerful? Hengsheng thought. Even though Jin Daishan had become much more powerful than him, he was still not strong enough to render him completely unable to resist. It shouldn't have been possible for him to fall into such an illusion without any chance to guard against it. His Dao heart could not even react in such a situation. Hengsheng used his golden eyes to observe the entire sanctum. A broken bar, so that's it. He found the cause. It was not Jin Daishan's own power that had almost sent him to the Yama King, but Jin Daishan had borrowed the power that existed within the sanctum to empower himself. Hengsheng's sinister smile curved as if he were a demon, realizing that he had already won the fight. Boom! Doom! Watching Jin Daishan in a hurry to find him, attacking a large area, launching random attacks here and there in hopes of forcing Hengsheng out of concealment, and unfortunately, Hengsheng was completely invisible. The only one who suffered was Jian Zixuan, who was also in concealment mode, dodging Jin Daishan's random attacks. Meow! Boom! Hengsheng understood the other's urgency. Jin Daishan was now running to his death as time passed. It was because Hengsheng had activated the absorption system function, draining the power of the sanctum, which greatly affected Jin Daishan. His golden eyes clearly saw what was going on with Jin Daishan. For that peak tier 4 power, he somehow has bound himself to the sanctum and borrowed its strength. Jin Daishan's very essence had been entirely overwritten. He no longer had any connection to the cultivation world. He couldn't leave this place, and he would die if the sanctum lost its power. Doom! Time remaining: 58 minutes, 54 seconds. Dimensional essence. A broken bar. Hengsheng knew this term. It was the essence, the fundamental unit that exists within the dimensional structure, the foundational energy of space-time, realm, or even the universe. The system world within his spiritual symbol also possessed dimensional essence. If he wanted to make his system world equal to the cultivation world's dimensional level, he needed to increase and accumulate more dimensional essence into the system world to strengthen its dimensional structure, making it stronger, more stable, and more structured as an independent dimension. His system world was very fragile from the outside and could be easily destroyed if something in the cultivation world managed to shatter his spiritual symbol. He did not dare to interfere with it much from the outside, whether it be experimenting with it or trying to strengthen it, since there was a risk of damaging the system world's dimensional structure at least until he reached the peak of the spiritual foundation realm. However, at this moment, as he absorbed the dimensional essence from the sanctum, he could sense that it was strengthening his system world's dimensional structure. It was not a significant strengthening, but he could feel the progression as his spiritual symbol of the vessel of the system world became more and more durable as it continued to absorb the dimensional essence from the sanctum. How could this place even possess the dimensional essence anyway? Hengsheng thought. Show yourself, coward! Jin Daishan roared. Boom! Hengsheng completely ignored Jin Daishan's curses and deftly dodged the numerous attacks falling onto the sanctum's floor. This man has sealed his fate, Hengsheng thought. Meow. Yansu jumped into the air toward Jin Daishan's giant body, landed on his face, bit frenziedly, and ripped it off. Ahhhh! Jin Daishan screamed. He was no longer a proud prince anymore. The moment he decided to become a Rakshasa, his fate was sealed. His soul and body had merged with other hundreds of cultists. In fact, the real Jin Daishan had already died the moment Rakshasa Jin Daishan was born. Doom. Time remaining. 45 minutes. 34 seconds. Hengsheng gazed at the stone table that had an elemental seal on it. He saw Jian Zixuan, in concealment mode, slowly retrieving the seal without letting Jin Daishan notice it. Yansu, distract him for a moment. Hengsheng sent a sound transmission to Yansu. The cat nodded, then enlarged her body to match the giant Rakshasa's size, sacrificing her superior mobility as she launched herself at the giant's neck with greater strength. Seeing this opportunity, Jian Zixuan quickly retrieved the seal and immediately dashed toward the exit. Boom! The giant pushed the giant cat back. You dare! Jin Daishan roared. He had already expected a move like this. He transformed himself into a long and thin serpent, lunging through the air toward the seal like a living spear. Even though the target was invisible, he knew its location because he had marked the seal with his aura. Flew. Jian Zixuan noticed the chase and turned pale, having already witnessed the other side's strength for some time. He knew he was no match for the opponent. However, just before the serpent could reach Jian Zixuan, a gigantic wooden hand suddenly appeared and slapped the serpent, pinning its body to the ground. Crash! I dare a broken bar. Hengsheng spoke. Hengsheng appeared from concealment mode and conjured a wooden hand to intercept Jin Daishan's movement, pinning him to the ground and preventing him from moving. Fellow Taoist Jian, quickly leave. Hengsheng sent a sound transmission, urging Jian Zixuan to flee with the seal as he sensed the wooden hand wouldn't be able to restrain Jin Daishan for much longer. Jian Zixuan quickly moved toward the exit upon hearing this and sent Hengsheng one last message. Fellow Taoist Lan, please remember to leave the rift before it closes. Hengsheng sensed the mental connection severed as Jian Zixuan left the sanctum. Crack! The wooden hand pressing its palm against the ground cracked, and then a broken bar. Boom! Jin Daishan's giant form burst forth, shattering the wooden hand. Roar! Jin Daishan roared in fury upon sensing that the seal was gone. His eyes turned red as he glared at Lan Hengsheng. If he had a hate list, Hengsheng would now be at the very top. You! He bellowed. Meow! Yansu, now recovered, leapt at the giant and immediately resumed their battle. Hengsheng no longer let Yansu fight alone. He jumped into the battle, joining forces against the evil giant. The timber grasp cycle glowed with an intense green light, conjuring 1,000 wooden hands from the ground that grasped Jin Daishan's limbs one by one, restricting his movements. Yansu, tearing the giant's abdomen with her sharp claws, dragged his organ off. The giant struggled against the wooden hands, trying to rip them off one by one, but to no use. Realizing this, he decided to shrink to human size for greater mobility. Unrestrained by the wooden hands, he quickly flew toward Hengsheng, raised his axe, and swung it down. The axe enlarged and struck at Hengsheng. Hengsheng's eyes glowed with an intense golden light, then shot out a solar blast against the axe blade, melting it. He then formed a white shield using pure chi to intercept the incoming claw of the Rakshasa. Crash! Hengsheng was knocked back from the impact. He still could not match Jin Daishan's strength, but he sensed that the other's strength had weakened, as Jin Daishan could no longer keep up with Yunsu's strength. The giant cat Yunsu came from behind, bit Jin Daishan's human-sized body, and swallowed him whole. But it did not end well. Her body was ripped in half from the inside by the axe. Thwack! Yunsu Hengsheng roared. Even though he knew she was fine, the scene still triggered him. With tremendous anger driving him, he fully supplied his spiritual chi to the divine artifact. Even if his own strength could not match the opponent, the divine artifact was not just for show. Wood! Hengsheng roared. Countless wooden dragons emerged from the ground, throwing themselves at Jin Daishan, biting his limbs, and wrapping their wooden trunks around his body. Jin Daishan screamed as he struggled to destroy the wood restraining him with brute force. Fire! Hengsheng shouted. The wooden dragons restraining Jin Daishan's body turned a blazing red, and then all at once every wooden material exploded. Boom! Jin Daishan's body exploded into thousands of pieces. Hengsheng knew it was not over. In fact, it would never be over as long as the sanctum continued supplying power to Jin Daishan. He was unkillable in this place. The pieces of flesh scattered across the sanctum's floor twitched and began to reform into thousands of mini Jin Daishans, each wielding a tiny axe. Despite their ridiculous appearance, each one possessed the power of a low tier 4 power level, making them a formidable army for Hengsheng. They quickly swarmed toward Hengsheng, determined to get rid of him immediately. Lan Hengsheng! Thousands of mini Jin Daishans roared in unison. Hengsheng's expression turned grim as he took a battle stance. He then unleashed a world-shatter palm to crush the approaching enemies. Pack! Boom! A portion of the mini Jin Daishan army was struck by the massive palm chi, sending them flying backward, while the rest had already reached Hengsheng, engaging him in fierce combat. Pack! Boom! Clang! Hengsheng broke into a sweat as he slowly found himself being pushed back by their overwhelming numbers. Meow! The cat roared. Yunsu, having reconnected her body, rejoined the fight. Seeing the small creatures running around the battlefield, her primal instincts kicked in. She leapt and slapped the many Rakshasas with her paws, ripping them apart with a sharp fang. With Yunsu's help, the pressure on Hengsheng eased several-fold. The exchange blow between the two sides continued a broken bar. Time remaining 11 minutes, 59 seconds. The colossal heavenly fist manifested in midair, sending an invisible pulse like a tidal wave toward the gigantic, 300-meter-tall Rakshasa, who had 3 heads, 6 arms, entirely golden skins, and a fearsome appearance. This fearsome Rakshasa was the ultimate form of Jin Daishan when he was on the verge of defeat a while ago. At that moment, Jin Daishan decided to completely merge with the countless souls within his body, including his very own soul, to become an entirely new entity. The new entity of the 3-head 6-arms golden Rakshasa calls itself Jindara. However, the new form didn't help him escape this situation because Hengsheng continued to drain the sanctum of its dimensional essence, rendering the Rakshasa weaker and weaker. After 10 more minutes of battle, the Rakshasa's strength had once again fallen to the same level as before the merging. Right now, the Rakshasa's strength was equal to Hengsheng's, allowing him to fight the demon head-on. The heavens pulse fist sent destructive waves of pulses one after another toward the opponent, each wave tearing apart the Rakshasa's body and soul. Every time the Rakshasa resurrected, it was immediately crushed into pieces again. The colossal heavenly fist faded from above as it ran out of chi. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed as he noticed that the heaven-grade technique was not as effective here in the rift compared to when he had used it against the God-Spawn's army. At that time, the move had been hundreds of times deadlier. Did it become weaker because the presence of heaven and earth here are thin? Hengsheng wondered. The golden Rakshasa began to regenerate slowly. From Hengsheng's belief, it would take the Rakshasa around 10 seconds to form a whole body and another 10 seconds to reach its peak condition. Meow! Broken bar. Hengsheng gazed at Yunsu with pity. She had been fighting hard for so long. Even though she no longer feared fatal injuries, there was a limit. After all, she was not truly immortal. Throughout the fight, the damage to her life essence had accumulated, and now it was starting to show on the outside as her regeneration had slowed significantly. Hengsheng picked up the poor cat and gently patted her fur with concern. Meow? Yansu asked, confused by what he was doing. You don't have to fight anymore. It will be dangerous if your life essence runs low, Hengsheng said. Meow broken bar meow broken bar. Yansu mewed, expressing her desire to help in the battle, worried that our human might be beaten by the enemy. No need to worry. I've got this handled. Why don't you take a little break? Once everything is settled, we can treat ourselves to something delicious. Sound good? Hengsheng said with a comforting smile. Meow broken bar. Yansu nodded, clearly exhausted as well. This fight was the first time she had gone all out like this, excluding the simulator. Hengsheng hugged the cat before the origin energy from his system world enveloped her body and drew her inside. She appeared in her cat planet within the origin world, safe and away from the battle. Thud. Hengsheng gazed at the golden Rakshasa, which was standing up with difficulty. The golden Rakshasa's 3 heads also gazed back at Hengsheng, its 6 eyes turning red, filled with hatred and anger. It swept its eyes around, searching for the hateful cat, but could not find her. It smiled. Looks like the cat knew its fate and ran off, leaving you to die alone. Jindara smirked. Run away from you? You are not even a real thing, Hengsheng said. With his heavenly insight mode, and his knowledge, he assumed a theory about the truth of this place. The sanctum was, in fact, just a remnant of a ruined dimension or destroyed world. This place was actually similar to his system world, a separate dimension, but it was even worse than his. The dimension's essence here was ruined and did not hold any real essence, just a shell of its former self, devoid of any real power and presence. This place was just an illusion of the past. So, Jindara broken Barno, now he was Jindara, who was bound in this place, was also an illusion. Unfortunately for Hengsheng, in this supernatural world full of beings that could destroy mountains and seas with a whim, an illusion in this world was not without any real effect. A high-level illusion might be able to turn around an illusion into reality. Hearing Lan Hengsheng's words, the golden Rakshasa did not waste any more words to argue, as its life and death depended on how quickly it could kill the opponent. It sensed that the sanctum had begun to become unstable due to some method deployed by the opponent. The 6 golden axes appeared in the 6 hands of the gigantic body of Jindara. Then, he flew across the distance, swinging the giant axes at the tiny human on the floor. Time remaining: 10 minutes. 59 seconds. The chi surged from Hengsheng's palm and sent a barrage of destruction cannonballs at the golden Rakshasa. Boom, boom, boom. The golden Rakshasa swung its axes countless times to destroy the incoming attack. After that, it flew across the distance to attack the human with all its might. Clang! The Rakshasa's axes were crashed against the human's gauntlet. Doom! The impact from the crash caused a powerful shockwave throughout the sanctum. Hengsheng was hurled backward. Clearly, the small human could keep up with the Rakshasa's raw strength. Time remaining: 8 minutes, 59 seconds. Hengsheng was turning into a large, plump pink pig due to the Rakshasa's spell. Yet even in this form, he remained a formidable pig. Oink! Hengsheng taunted and circulated the chi within his body to break the Rakshasa's spell. Die, you pig! The Rakshasa was angry as it could not deliver a fatal blow to the opponent. His 4 feet swiftly moved right and left, dodging the Rakshasa's axe swiftly despite the body disadvantage. Hengsheng's pig eyes glowed with golden light and burst out a solar blast at close range against the opponent. Boom! The impact from the solar blast sent both of them apart. Hengsheng quickly moved to distance himself from the Rakshasa. Time remaining: 6 minutes, 59 seconds. The countless fists and palms struck, rumbling against the Rakshasa's body. Pack, pack, pack. Ugh! The Rakshasa roared in pain, his body twitching as he struggled to defend himself from the human strikes. Useless, 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 useless. A broken bar, Hengsheng shouted while continuing to perform an endless fist and palm strike combo. Hengsheng battled with the Rakshasa for a while. He always kept track of the opponent's strength, waiting for the right opportunity when the other side's strength fell to a certain point. At that time, he would end the battle. The massive amount of qi gathering in Hengsheng's right hand. Hengsheng clenched his fist tight and threw a powerful punch at the center of the Rakshasa's chest. Thwack! The punch put a hole in the opponent's chest and sent him flying backward, slamming into the sanctum wall. Boom! Crack! Hengsheng gazed at the invisible sanctum wall, where a crack had appeared like a crack in the middle of space. This was the first time during the fight that the sanctum had been damaged. Hengsheng knew it meant that the dimensional structure of the sanctum was now weak to the point that the dimension was unstable. Just a little more a broken bar, Hengsheng thought, as he dashed toward the opponent, not letting him recover. Resumed their frenzied battle. Time remaining 3 minutes, 59 seconds. It's time, Hengsheng thought. Hengsheng's gaze turned sharp as he decided to end the battle. Wood! Hengsheng roared. Wink! The green-colored qi of the wood element rose from the ground around Hengsheng, like a countless green ball of light dancing in the middle of the darkness of this dead universe, before they were pulled by an invisible force toward Hengsheng's left hand, which wore a wooden gauntlet. The wood qi empowered his next move. The green light condensed within the hand, making it glow with the intense green light, and Hengsheng raised his palm toward the incoming golden Rakshasa. Roar! The Rakshasa is already in a frenzied state. It gives everything to destroy the human in front of it. Grasp of Timberlord, Hengsheng uttered, before clenching his hand. The green light on his hand burst out with a powerful aura of wood qi. A gigantic green timber hand, glowing with the aura of intense wood qi, manifested in front of Hengsheng. The formidable timber hand moved forward at incredible speed and grabbed the body of the incoming three-headed, six-armed golden Rakshasa within its mighty grasp. The timber hand restrained the Rakshasa movement within its grasp and began to root itself into the ground. The Rakshasa's entire body was enveloped by the green light power of the timber grasp, helplessly trying to get out of the grasp, but it was useless. The Rakshasa's 6 eyes watched as the timber hand clenched. Its golden skin slowly turned into wooden bark. The Rakshasa could not resist at all, as its power could no longer match Hengsheng's. The timber hand slowly turned the Rakshasa's body into wood with its power. Soon, the Rakshasa's whole skin was no longer flesh and blood but a brown golden shaded wooden skin. Rakshasa could no longer move its body. Afterward, the formidable timber hand slowly disappeared as its task was done, leaving only the 300-meter-tall Rakshasa wooden sculpture with 3 heads and 6 arms behind. It's finally over, Hengsheng murmured. Crack! No! The wooden sculpture roared as it tried to move its stiff wooden body. Hengsheng's eyes widened at the opponent's stubbornness, but he was not worried. With a smirk, he spoke the words. Don't move. The voice was normal. Nothing special about it not carrying a qi or mystery spell, but when the Rakshasa wooden sculpture heard the words, it stopped moving immediately. Its wooden eyes were filled with shock. Hengsheng was testing the power of control and manipulation from his genetic trait ability. This wooden Rakshasa was already within his grasp, and it could not resist his command. Stop thinking and go to sleep, Hengsheng said. The Rakshasa tried its best to resist, but it could not. Soon, the light of consciousness in its eyes disappeared, and it became completely still, as if it were a normal wooden sculpture. The Rakshasa's mind and soul were now sealed within its wooden body. Hengsheng confirms the opponent's status with his divine sense. It's finally over for real, Hengsheng said to himself. He fell to the ground to rest, easing the exhaustion after the fierce battle, facing the sky within the sanctum, the illusion of the dead universe. Actually, this place is like a good planetarium, Hengsheng murmured. Hengsheng gazed across the whole sanctum. He saw countless cracks spreading across the space above and below like a shattered mirror suspended in midair. Crack! The cracks continued to appear as time passed, as this pocket dimension was about to collapse due to the damage caused by the battle and the dimensional essence running low. Crack! A broken bar. Time remaining 59 seconds. I should get out of here, Hengsheng murmured. Hengsheng got up and walked to the exit, even though he wanted to suck up every last bit of dimensional essence within this place. However, he could not bet his life on what would happen if he was still inside the dimension when it collapsed. Crake, crake, crake. The cracks multiplied rapidly, spreading faster than before. Within seconds, they had webbed across every inch of the space, leaving no surface untouched, like a dimension on the verge of shattering. The 300-meter-tall Rakshasa wooden sculpture also had a crack on it, a broken bar. Hengsheng was already right next to the exit. He gazed back at the collapsing dimension with curiosity. Who wouldn't want to see the world end with their own eyes? He kept his wonder in his heart. He had to get out before it was too late. Hengsheng gave a final look before he stepped forward to the outside. On the outside of the sanctum, Hengsheng felt a similar sensation of heaven and earth surrounding his skin, giving him a sense of familiarity. Even though the blue mist that enveloped the rift still obstructed the presence of heaven and earth, it was still much better than when he was inside the sanctum. Hengsheng observed the surroundings. There was nothing changed since when he entered the sanctum. Crake. Hengsheng leapt out from the entrance as he sensed the sanctum behind him collapse. Crash! The 500-meter-tall pyramid-shaped structure, which was a strong architectural shape that was hard to topple, collapsed from the peak down to the foundation in just a matter of seconds. Doom! A huge cloud of dust from the collapsed structure billowed across the surrounding area, obscuring Hengsheng's vision. This is bad, Hengsheng thought, remembering that in the rift, divine sense was not very effective due to the presence of the blue mist. Losing both eyesight and divine sense, a broken bar. This was no different from him becoming blind. Gar. Hengsheng heard the sound of God Spawn's roars, which were very close to his surroundings. He was surprised, cause he remembered there shouldn't be any God Spawn near the temple. Maybe the sanctum was preventing these God Spawn from populating the temple. Now that its collapse had a broken bar, Hengsheng murmured, considering the possibility, and he was quite sure it was the case. The sound of the air splitting reached his ears as something fast moved through the distance toward him. Hengsheng was not passive. His first thought was to regain his vision. A massive amount of chi surged from within and enveloped his body instantly. He then bursted out in all directions. Hengsheng roared. Boom! The chi discharged with Hengsheng at the center, sending a destruction wave of pure chi throughout his surroundings. It blew away the dust and the incoming god spawns. The remnants of the temple structure were also blown away by the wave, becoming a completely barren wasteland filled with blue mist. No more a ruin of the ancient temple. Hengsheng's vision returned. He gazed around the whole area, his eyes filled with joy. A smile curved on his lips because it was time for him to reap his rewards. Gap. A broken bar. Hengsheng raised his hands, taking a battle stance one more time. Time remaining. 0 seconds. Ding. All system functions deactivated. Dutan. You dare destroy my sect? You won't escape my wrath. Birpan roared. A moment ago, he had received a message from the sect that it was being attacked by an unknown, newly ascended true immortal. He quickly crossed the void, moving from the Golden City battlefield back to his sect's territory. When he reached the sect territory, it was too late. The sect was being destroyed. The magnificent mountains and sect buildings had now become ruins, and only a few sect disciples were lucky enough to survive. All the formations prepared to handle a true immortal of the overlord level seemed to be useless against this true immortal. They could not prevent the sect from being destroyed before he could arrive. Birpan gazed at the one responsible for this destruction. He found a familiar face here, his former senior brother, whom he had almost forgotten. It had been a long time. Who would have thought this man was still alive and had even become a true immortal? Dutian, a broken bar who had now become Lan Hengsheng, gazed at his former junior brother. At first, he thought he would be angry, but when he sensed the other side's state with his immortal sense, he felt that Birpan was not worth enough for him to exchange words with the one who had already abandoned their Tao. Why stay silent? Do you truly dare to act arrogant before me? Birpan roared. Lan Hengsheng did not answer. Instead, the wooden sword appeared within his grip. The wooden sword, decorated with profound runes across the blade, was filled with a mysterious aura that even Lan Hengsheng's current cultivation could not understand. Birpan gazed at the wooden sword, his eyes igniting with envy. He remembered this treasure. It had been found in the secret realm that he and Dutan had entered a long time ago. It was an immortal tier treasure. It should have been his to possess, since he was the one who found it. But once Du Tan showed up, the wooden sword chose to bond with Du Tan. I gave you a chance to speak a broken bar and you wasted it. Now die. Wai Bipan brought out the Wu God's divine weapon immediately, as he intended to finish killing Du Tan quickly and rejoin the main battlefield at Golden City. The divine weapon was shining with golden light and glittering like a star. It was Nandaka, the divine slaying sword. Wai Bipan flew across the space toward Lan Hengsheng with great confidence, intending to kill the other side in one strike. He did not believe a newly ascended true immortal would have any means to resist him after all. Even those million-year-old immortals from the Overlord couldn't. Lan Hengsheng sensed what was happening. He knew that he could not face that golden light sword. He decides to use the immortal treasure's secret power. His lips moved. Verdant Empress. Lan Hengsheng spoke the name. This name had been imprinted on his mind by the immortal treasure itself for a long time. To utilize this treasure's secret power, he had to say the name. It had told him that it could help him deal with any enemy once, and that he could only be used when he reached the true immortal realm unless he wanted to die. In response, an intense green light glowed from the wooden sword, followed by an overwhelming aura that made even a true immortal like him feel like an ant. Wai Bipan was frozen in midair, his expression shocked. He could not resist the powerful presence that appeared before him, even with the divine weapon. Not only was Wai Bipan shocked, but Lan Hengsheng was also stunned by the appearance of the green light avatar that manifested before him. Master, a broken bar. No, Lan Hengsheng spoke with a trembling voice, as if he could not believe what he saw. The green light avatar resembled the long-deceased Du Tan's master Lan Hengsheng. The avatar gazed at Lan Hengsheng with an unfeeling, still expression, as if deep in thought. "Dana, a broken bar," she said. The words seemed ordinary, but they meant everything to Lan Hengsheng. The old man, who had lived for more than 400,000 years, felt tears welling up at the corners of his eyes. "Master, a broken bar, you are alive." "A broken bar," Lan Hengsheng said, his voice trembling. The avatar's expression did not change as she spoke. "I am not truly your master." "Your master was one of my incarnations." "A broken bar," she said. Lan Hengsheng could guess as much. "But still a broken bar. Our fates are intertwined." "You discovered my inheritance and became my incarnation disciple." "Broken bar," the avatar explained. "Tana, if you wish, you may follow me and become my disciple," she said. Lan Hengsheng did not think for too long before he said, "I accept, Master." "A broken bar." The avatar looked at Lan Hengsheng with satisfaction. Becoming a true immortal within 1,000,000 years wasn't rare in the immortal realm, but in a higher realm like this, it was indeed considered rare here, given Lan Hengsheng's talent. If he had been born in the immortal realm, he would have become a true immortal within 10,000 years. Her gaze shifted to Wai Bipan, who was frozen and could not even move his mouth due to the overwhelming power that locked him in place. "What a waste. Your talent was better than most, but still, you chose to abandon the Tao of your own will," she said. Her tone was cold. Without even moving her hand, with just one gaze, Wai Bipan's body, soul, and even the divine weapon in his grip disintegrated into particles, vanishing in an instant. She did not seem too interested in Wai Bipan or the divine weapon at all. Her gaze swept across the realm, and in an instant, she seemed to notice something out of place. She then returned her gaze to Lan Hengsheng and said, "Tana, this realm will fall. Leave this realm before the pillar seal breaks and seek me in the immortal realm," she instructed before the avatar disappeared as if it had never been here. Lan Hengsheng gazed at the spot where the green light avatar disappeared, feeling awe. He moved quickly, following his master's instructions, gathering his belongings, whether they be treasures or mountains. After that, he summoned all the people related to him, both Lan Clan members and other lineages of the blossoming sword sector, storing them in his Tao palace and preparing to leave the realm. He noticed that he could not reach those still within the secret land, including Lan Hengsheng, but he did not mind. He gazed at the heavens above. He could sense the location of the immortal realm at the heart region of the infinite astral web clearly from the boundless chi it was emitting. On the other side, at the center of the Golden Pillar continent, where the Golden Sword sect was located, the Golden City surrounding the Overlord sect was now engulfed in the flames of war and chaos. There were no true immortals to guard this place, as all of them had been dragged to the immortal battlefield to fight against formidable enemies. The Golden Sword sect could only rely on it, disciples and lower-ranked elders. Still, they held stronger even without true immortals. Their overwhelming foundation was far superior to that of the enemy forces. The enemy could roam throughout the city, but they could not step foot into the main domain of the Golden Sword sect. Inside the immortal battlefield, Jian Feng sensed the presence of Pan had disappeared. He didn't know what had happened, and even though one formidable enemy was gone, it didn't make things any better. Their situation was already on the verge of collapse. Things had started to turn bad when they lost all connection with the secret land for unknown reasons. Then, the situation worsened when one of the 12 true immortals, who was supposed to maintain the sealing formation, turned out to be a traitor. He sabotaged the entire formation and severely injured the other 11 true immortals. But the final nail in the coffin was the appearance of the incarnation of the Wu God Gainshaw. "I am sorry to do this to your world, but it had to be done for our own survival," said the wise man with the head of an elephant and the body of a human. Jian Feng gazed at his opponent with anger. All the answers were clear now, whether it was how the traitor slipped away from their detection or why the seal had weakened. Everything became apparent with the appearance of this Wu God's incarnation. Gainshaw, known for intellect, wisdom, and knowledge, even though he was not as strong as the other Wu gods who originated from the local great universe, he had been given enough time to plan and overthrow the 5-pillar realm from within. It was a guaranteed outcome. "We're broken bar." Jian Feng was about to respond to the Wu god's words, but something interrupted him. He sensed powerful energy emerging from the other 4 continents, and the pillars of those continents fell at the same time. His face turned pale as he realized they were doomed. In the massive dark cave underground somewhere within the outer rim of the secret land, Brother Long, a broken bar, those monsters are heading for the rift. "What should we do?" one of the few remaining disciples from the Iron Hall group said. His tone grim as uncertainty loomed over them. "I don't know," Bao Long roared. Bao Long held his head, racking his brain as he tried to think of a solution. Their plans and preparations had all crumbled in the face of the overwhelming power of those 3 monsters, 2 men with Dao hearts and 1 demon beast cat. Jin Daishan's group at the rift wouldn't survive for long. There was no way he and his subordinates could handle all 3 monsters at the same time, since even one of them was already bad enough, especially the demon beast cat, who seemed exponentially stronger than any true body realm cultivator Bao Long had ever known. Even though millions of god spawns guarded the rift, in his opinion, it still wasn't enough against those monsters. At some point, Jin Daishan would eventually fall, and the elemental seal would be taken back by its owner. Also, they don't even have a single card left to play. There was no more solution. They were doomed. "Ugh!" Bao Long screamed. His outburst only made his juniors feel even more desperate. Everyone here understood the situation all too well. Bao Long's thought flashed as if he finally thought of the solution, and then he spoke. "Let's run away." Hearing Bao Long's words, his junior brother and sister turned confused. "How broken bar?" One of the juniors laughed dryly. "Where could we run away, Brother Long? We were trapped here." "Broken bar," one of juniors said. Bao Long closed his eyes and focused on his thoughts. He was not like Jin Daishan or the other cultists who signed up for this mess themselves. Whether it was the Wu God's promise or the world without the heavenly Tao, he didn't care, but he didn't have a choice. Since his faction had already chosen this path, if he hadn't followed, he would have been dead long ago. He was not willing to throw his life away for this worthless mission. In response to his junior's question, Bao Long brought out something that he had hidden from the very start. A golden talisman with profound runes carved into it appeared in his hand. Bao Long's junior brothers and sisters widened their eyes in shock when they saw what Bao Long had brought out. "Brother Long, you have another immortal talisman." "That's right. I kept it just in case," Bao Long said. "Brother Long, why don't you use it to kill that demon cat?" one of the juniors said. Bao Long became angry when he heard this. "Because I'm not stupid." Bao Long slapped the head of the one who asked the foolish question. "Ow! Please stop, Brother Long. A junior begged for mercy. Bao Long continued to hit him 3 more times before stopping. "Remember, be careful with your words," Bao Long said. The reason he did not use it to attack living beings was simple. The talisman wasn't crafted for killing. The juniors didn't know the details, they only knew it was a powerful immortal tier talisman. This immortal tier talisman was called the Heaven-Earth Severing Talisman. Its primary function was to sever the part flow of heaven and earth chi. As a result, most formations that relied on heaven and earth's chi would become unstable and collapse. Even with its immense power, it didn't possess any direct means to kill individuals. Besides, activating an immortal tier talisman required a large amount of ki, at least that of a Dao threshold realm cultivator, to use it without suffering serious backlash. For a spiritual foundation realm cultivator like him, activating it would be suicide. He alone wouldn't be able to provide the amount of chi required, or it would take at least 10 cultivators of the same cultivation realm as him just to activate the talisman at its minimum power. Bao Long explained how the talisman worked to his juniors to ease their confusion. Their faces turned pale when they heard that at least 10 people would have to sacrifice their lives to activate it. "No, Brother Long!" some screamed. They had only 15 people left after the battle at the Metal Seal Station, meaning most of them would likely end up as the sacrifice. "Shut up, our group has died enough. I don't need any more worthless deaths." A broken bar. "Besides, I have a method to activate it without costing lives," Bao Long said. "Brother Long, a broken bar," they murmured mournfully. "Be Brother Long, then how are you going to use the talisman?" one junior asked. "We'll use it to get out of here," Bao Long exclaimed. The juniors were briefly excited, but their expressions soon turned gloomy when they thought about what would come next. "Brother Long, a broken bar, even if we escape from here, the cult won't spare us for failing a broken bar," one of them muttered. Bao Long shook his head and said, "We won't return to the continent." "What?" Bao Long pointed his finger at the group. "We will leave this realm," he shouted. "Be Brother Long, please calm down, a broken bar." Some of them looked at Bao Long with pitiful eyes, thinking their Brother Long had already lost his mind. Bao Long gazed at the juniors. They clearly didn't understand what he intended to do. It was understandably he came from a noble clan within the Iron Edge Hall and had access to more knowledge than most of them. "Let me tell you, where we are now is the realm core. It's the foundation of the entire realm," Bao Long continued, explaining his plan. "I will use the talisman to attack the realm core itself." "Ha ha ha!" Bao Long laughed as if he had already gone mad. "What? Brother Long, are you going to destroy the realm? That's great karma. You wouldn't be able to bear the consequences," one of them shouted in shock. "What are you talking about? I couldn't even if I wanted to." "Even the strongest true immortal couldn't destroy the realm with just one move, let alone with one talisman," Bao Long said calmly. "Then what do you mean by attacking the realm?" another asked. "You know, the realm core of the place that holds the essence of the entire realm. That's why it's so abundant with ki, no place on the surface can compare. But it doesn't just hold the realm's essence, it's also where the entrance to Astral Web is located." The Astral Web was the cosmic structure that held the countless dimensional worlds together, an astral network linking universes, realms, and pocket dimensions within the void, forming the foundational structure of the heavenly Tao world multiverse. With the talisman's power, it will sever the space and reveal the entrance to the astral web for us. "Then we'll use it to leave this realm," Bao Long said. "Is that true? Won't it be dangerous?" "I thought only those at a high cultivation realm could withstand void erosion," someone asked, worried. Bao Long explained, "We're not facing the void directly. Through the astral web, it's completely safe. Let's not waste any more time." "We don't know when those monsters will find us," Bao Long said. The juniors nodded, agreeing to follow Bao Long to the end. "Don't resist, whatever happens," Bao Long spoke in a serious tone. Gulp. The juniors sensed the seriousness of what their Brother Long was about to do. Bao Long took a deep breath, preparing for the backlash of what he was about to do. But it was all for survival. Staying here meant certain death, and they could no longer return home. Their fate was now in their hands. Bao Long raised his hand toward his juniors and did something similar to what Jin Daishan had done to his group. The Wu Dao seed within his lower dantian emitted a powerful aura, and then a broken bar. The Wu Chi within his junior brothers and sisters were forcefully pulled, and the Wu Chi rose from their bodies, causing them immense pain. Brother Long, please have mercy. Some screamed, thinking they were about to become sacrifices. They could feel their cultivation base being reduced to chi-gathering realm and continuing to drop. Sweat appeared on Bao Long's forehead as he tried his best to control the process. The Wu Dao seed within him glowed with a powerful chakra, as if it were ready to explode any time. Bao Long stopped draining the chi from his juniors. He left them lying on the ground, tears leaking from their eyes as they sensed their cultivation was almost completely ruined. Their hard work was reduced to nearly nothing. Bao Long steeled his heart, lowered his hand, and moved it to his belly. Bao Long screamed, just as his juniors had earlier, feeling the immense pain from extracting the Wu Dao seed. Soon, the golden lotus seed appeared in Bao Long's hand. He felt very weak, as his cultivation base was now nearly ruined. His hand trembled, but he continued what he had started. He placed the Wu Dao seed on the immortality talisman, using the Wu Dao seed's energy to activate it. He sent his will to the talisman, telling it what he wanted. The talisman glowed with golden light, and then it activated, manifested a powerful golden sword in midair. Bao Long looked at it with hope. The crimson light fell from the sky, and then a large explosion occurred. It consumed more than 1 kilometer in radius. Boom! Countless palm chi shot forward like a meteor shower, moving horizontally and destroying everything in their path. Pack. A large crimson sword slashed through a group of 10,000 god spawns in one swift strike. The earth shattered, and space itself was almost torn apart. Xing. A broken bar. Ding. System points, 256,775,000 SP, plus 1,000 SP, plus 900 SP. A broken bar. Ding. You have defeated the enemy. You have gained XP. A broken bar. Ding. Congratulations. You have leveled up. Level 75 achieved. All stats increased by +1. Skill points +1. Ding. You have reached the maximum level. XP will be accumulated until your mana level increases. A broken bar. Ding. A broken bar. Gar. Surrounded by countless god spawns, Hengsheng swiftly moved his hands and circulated his chi to perform a technique. Hundreds of sword chi manifested around Hengsheng as he used both hands to command them, the sword chi swirling around him like two dragons made of blades. The twin dragon sword chi surged through the group of god spawns, like a raging tornado, annihilating every single one of the god spawns that obstacled their path. Hengsheng's expression was satisfied since he just discovered his talent. This talent was due to the existence of the divine spirit core. He called it innate chi manipulation. This talent was the thing that set divine grade spirit core holders apart from other cultivators entirely. He discovered this talent while he was killing god spawns. Even though their number was large, they were very weak compared to him. He was killing them like he was walking in the park, super relaxed and loose-minded. This led him to think about how to kill them faster and in a more badass way. So he started by altering his original technique to make them capable of killing many at once. It worked very well. The world shatter palm altered and became divided into 1,000 small attacks that struck the god spawns like a meteor shower. At that moment, he realized he had quite an easy time altering the technique, finding the new chi pathway, and forming a chi construct as if it were a natural process, without any guidance from any source. It was entirely his own capability. He was never capable of doing this before, if not counting using the systema, until he had the divine spirit core. Then he continued to prove his assumption, by altering other techniques to make them work his idea. The process was smooth. It took some time, even though he was able to make everything work. But he mostly succeeded in creating an altered version of his own techniques. The Chi Surge Cannon could take many shapes, whether it be a cube, weapon, or even a beast. The Heaven's Fist Pulse reduced its form and strength but enhanced his every fist move with the Chi Pulse. The Horizon Shift technique no longer crossed a large distance. Here with the altered version, he made it so that he could semi-teleport a short distance. After that, he tried to create a new technique, like the Twin Dragon Sword Chi technique, that he was now performing. It was much more challenging to create a new technique entirely than to alter an already complete one. Eventually, he succeeded. Even though this technique was weak compared to his other techniques and lacked a proper foundation, he sensed that he could improve it if he had more time. So this is why divine spirit core holders are considered geniuses without any testing, as they're already born with that quality, Hengsheng murmured. Hengsheng waves his hand, sending the powerful chi waves to annihilate incoming god spawns. Ding! A broken bar. Hengsheng gazed at his system panel, his lips curved upward because he had become super rich. With this amount of system points, many things could be done. He wanted to continue slaughtering these god spawns forever, as they were like an infinite source of resources. Unfortunately, he could not, since he needed to get out of here before Jian Zixuan brought the 5 seals together and used them to close the rift. He gazed at the clock in the system panel. It's already 3 hours since Jian Zixuan had left with the seals. A broken bar, Hengsheng murmured. Hengsheng conjured a large crimson blade and slashed it through the annoying god spawns. I should leave now, Hengsheng thought. It was about time. Jian Zixuan warned him to leave. Before leaving, he wants to deliver one last attack. Hengsheng floated high into the sky from the ground, gazing at the ground below. Countless god spawns were swarming toward his direction. Some tried to jump, but they could not reach him, since they were obstructed by the invisible wall that Hengsheng had placed. My strongest move, a broken bar, Hengsheng thought, while his divine artifact glowed with green light. A green energy ball of wood chi appeared around his hand, followed by fire chi, earth chi, metal chi, and water chi. These 5 types of chi spun around his hand, moving in harmony and resonance. The cycle of 5 phases formed, appearing as a small pentagon wheel glowing with the white transparent chi that rotated above Hengsheng's palm. Hengsheng directed his palm down toward the god spawn's swarm's direction. He uttered the spell, Cycle of Destruction. At that moment, the pentagon wheel stopped rotating and emitted a powerful aura of Tao, sending a wave of destruction spreading across the vast distance covered more than a 10-kilometer radius. The destruction wave was transparent and calm like a breeze, yet deadly. The god spawns that the destruction wave passed through began to stop moving and slowly disintegrated, turning them into dust instantly. Ding! A broken bar. Ding! A broken bar. Countless system notices rang in Hengsheng's head. His gaze was fixed on the system panel as he enjoyed watching the system points increase at a rapid rate. System points: 416,345,500 SP, plus 800 SP, plus 900 SP. A broken bar. This move, he killed more than 100,000 of god spawn at once. Hengsheng closed the system panel, not wanting his greed to put him in any more danger. He was leaving now. Unlike when he entered the rift, he didn't need to leave through the reamer. He could simply soar upward through the blue mist and emerge above the rift. Hengsheng soared upward. He sensed the space was more distorted up here, as the distance didn't match his calculations, but he continued rising through the blue mist. As he passed through it, he noticed the blue mist growing denser, almost like a cloud. Soon, he saw the golden light of the secret land sky in the distance. He soared faster, eager to leave the rift quickly. Hengsheng emerged above the rift, leaving the blue mist below him. Haha, broken bar. I thought some nonsense like an unknown enemy would pop up the moment I left. Looks like I was just overthinking it, he muttered to himself. Hengsheng, in midair, observed his surroundings. He noticed something. The space between the bamboo and metal forest territories was slowly moving closer, and at the same time, the rift was also beginning to shrink. The process was slow, but still noticeable. At this rate, around 30 minutes before the rift is closed, Hengsheng muttered. He observed a bit longer to ensure he didn't miss anything, then turned toward the metal forest, about to leave this place. I should have asked for more reward, Yansu, and I did all the work. Jian Zixuan was completely useless, Hengsheng muttered before flying forward. However, before he could leave the area where the rift was located, Hengsheng felt his right foot grabbed by something. What? Hengsheng was shocked because his divine sense could not detect this sudden event before it happened. He reacted immediately, using great force to try and break free from whatever had seized him, something he hadn't even sensed with his divine sense. But he couldn't move. Whatever had grabbed his foot was holding on tightly. Hengsheng looked down to see what it was, and what he saw horrified him. His foot was being held by a human hand made of blue mist. He quickly released a chi blast to destroy the misty hand, but the chi blast simply passed through it, causing no reaction. Hengsheng sensed the misty hand was pulling him back into the rift. His expression turned to horror, but he quickly steeled his heart and acted. He cut off his right foot without hesitation. Thunk. He quickly fled. He didn't even bother to stop the bleeding. Damn it! Hengsheng cursed. This was the second time he had lost a foot and the third time he had lost a limb. This secret realm kept making him lose limbs from time to time. Am I cursed? Hengsheng thought. Hengsheng flew through the air, almost out of the rift territory, when suddenly the surroundings turned dark, as if the sun were being covered. Hengsheng looked up to see what had happened. What he saw was the gigantic misty hand covering the sky, reaching down toward him. Oh, crap! Hengsheng cursed before everything went black. Ding! The strongest cultivator system A emergency protocol initiated. A. Automatic system activation. A. Ding! Error. Ding! Initiating emergency recovery protocols. Ding! Error. Ding! Warning, multiple system functions off. Linear broken bar. Error. A broken bar. Error. A broken bar. Error. A broken bar. Critical error. System failure detected. The strongest cultivator system has collapsed. Warning. WX. NIXC. XW1 $85032 $3502508A5135Z C1C12 V5C70941222N1XC DC35 OPC4 372 OB. A broken bar. Despite the devastating circumstances happening to the strongest cultivator system, Hengsheng, as the host, was not aware of it. He remained completely unresponsive, his eyes closed, and his expression still, as if his consciousness was not within his body or locked away somewhere else or already completely gone. No one could tell. Master, please wake up. A broken bar. Blue said, her tone filled with worry. She stood on the origin star, gazing at her system panel that displayed the situation outside the system world, a worried expression appearing on her face. She had just witnessed the unexpected event that happened to Hengsheng. She had failed to warn him in time since everything had happened so fast. The system window in front of her revealed that Hengsheng was now in an unconscious state, his body surrounded by a dense cloud of blue mist. Unable to see any surroundings, there was only the dense blue mist floating around. Hengsheng's uncertain fate made her worried. Her worry grew even more when she sensed that Hengsheng's main system had gone down for an unknown reason. Master, Hunter yelled, just as worried as Blue. Just a moment ago, he had lost connection with Hengsheng's main system. A lesser dimensional world inside its head. What an intriguing being! The mysterious voice echoed. The voice was deep and resonant, like a distant thunderclap, echoing through the cloud of blue mist, and its source could not be pinpointed. Above the origin star, Blue and Hunter turned pale after hearing the mysterious voice mention about their system world. The unknown enemy discovered their master's secret. Master, please wake up, it is starting to become dangerous now. Hunter yelled, as the situation became urgent if his master remained unconscious. Let me see what it's like inside, the voice echoed once more. Then the blue mist surrounding Hengsheng's body began to move. The blue mist within the space gathered into a single point in front of Hengsheng, exposing the environment previously obscured by the mist. Hengsheng was now floating in a dark space with no clear concept of up or down. His body was surrounded on all sides by massive, endlessly tall pentagon pillars in 5 different colors, each corresponding to the 5 elements. The pillars emitted a mysterious Tao aura, giving off a feeling that they were indestructible, but surprisingly, small cracks ran along them, a crack releasing an aura of decay, showing that the pillars were indeed damaged. This place felt infinite in its darkness, yet strangely made one feel narrow. By instinct, One could tell there was no escape if they were trapped here. This place was the five-element seal dimension. A massive mound of blue mist swirled in front of Hengsheng, condensing into a small tornado before forming the shape of a human, although not entirely human, for the figure that appeared from the blue mist had 4 arms. As the blue mist gradually disappeared, the owner of the mysterious voice was revealed, a man with blue skin, the same color as the mist, as high as 10 meters tall. He had 2 pairs of arms on both sides, and was well dressed, adorned with elaborate jewelry, including a necklace, earrings, armbands, and a golden crown reflecting his status as a divine figure. Lastly, a natural smiling expression adorned his face. Undoubtedly, this was the Wu god that the cultists called the Lord of all senses. The otherworldly god, Vishnu. Blue and Hunter, witnessing the appearance of the Wu god from within, couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines, as the aura emanating from the Wu god was irresistible oppression. Vishnu's hand rose and grasped Hengsheng's head. Hunter's face paled. "No!" Blue screamed, thinking Hengsheng's head was about to be crushed. However, what Blue thinks did not happen. A smiling expression on Vishnu turns grim. "What a strange lesser-dimensional world. Even with my divinity, it cannot be moved." "Without the dimensional lord's command, a broken bar," Vishnu murmured. "Despite being a creature of chaos, it could flawlessly take human form, a body, mind, and even soul, all perfectly mimicked." "I wonder how it came to be?" Vishnu pondered silently. Thanks to the fact that this incarnation of him was the Lord of all senses, giving him an edge to sense things better than other incarnations of his. He had long noticed the existence of this being the moment it first stepped into the secret land. Even though it tried to hide, he could still feel the familiar scent of chaos emanating from its soul. How could he not recognize the old enemy that had destroyed his world? However, this Casborn was different, a broken bar, because it was no different from other normal beings, which is completely bizarre for a Casborn. This wonder led him to dissect the essence of this being to find the answer, but he found none. Aside from the soul of the Casborn, everything else was perfectly human. But there was still one thing he discovered, though he wasn't sure if it was the source of this abnormal Casborn, the strange energy artifact that had attached itself to this being's soul. This energy artifact was incredibly complex. Even someone at his level could not tell exactly what it was. From the surface, it was made of countless unknown runes and a thread of laws. He extracted it from this being's soul, but its structure collapsed and disappeared immediately when it lost connection with the being, leaving him no chance to investigate it further. This is why he wasn't sure if the energy artifact caused the Casborn to act like a normal being. Even though the artifact was gone, its essence still did not change. "Maybe the answer lies within this lesser-dimensional world," Vishnu muttered. He extended his divinity toward the Casborn human, seizing control over its body, mind, and even its soul. Suddenly, Hengsheng's eyes snapped open, but they were empty, devoid of will or awareness. His expression was blank, as if he were merely a puppet. Following Vishnu's command, Hengsheng placed his hand on Vishnu's chest. The origin energy from the system world surged from the spiritual symbol, enveloped Vishnu entirely, and brought him into the system world. Vishnu appeared within the system world, right above the origin star. The first thing he sensed was the completeness of the laws within this world. "Impossible," Vishnu muttered, his eyes narrowing. How could a mere lesser-dimensional world have such a perfect dimensional structure as this? He was quite shocked because, generally, a lesser-dimensional world should not have a complete structure like this one. "Is this a true dimensional world?" "A broken bar, no," Vishnu murmured. "The difference between a lesser-dimensional world and a true dimensional world lies in the structure of their laws. If the laws within a dimension are perfect, then the dimension becomes stable, able to sustain itself, and capable of generating dimensional essence to strengthen itself over time. If the laws are incomplete, the result is the opposite. It may become unstable, unable to sustain itself, and incapable of generating dimensional essence." The dimension he was currently in was almost no different from a true dimensional world. The only thing that prevented it from being one was the insufficient amount of dimensional essence. Its dimensional essence simply hasn't reached the quantity and quality required to stabilize and sustain the full might of the laws. Even though he could create a dimension world, it would still be a lesser one. Creating a true dimensional world was incredibly difficult for someone at his level. Only the void and those who had transcended all laws could achieve such a feat at will. Vishnu's lips curved upward as if he were in a good mood. He hadn't expected to find what he and the others had been searching for all this time in a place like this. If we use this dimensional world as the base, we'll be able to rebuild the great local world once again, Vishnu exclaimed. A pre-true dimensional world like this was beyond rare or almost non-existent, even within the infinite void that housed the countless multiverse. If he and the others altered the laws in this dimension to match those of their already destroyed world, then when this dimension fully formed and became a true dimensional world, they would once again have a place they could call home. While Vishnu imagined a glorious future for himself and the other local gods, his joy was interrupted. A man and a woman appeared before him. Vishnu's eyes narrowed, and anger surged through him as he sensed the same chaos scent emanating from their souls, similar to the chaos-born human outside. You spawn of chaos! How dare you show your filthy existence before me? Vishnu shouted, waving his hand as a divine mace appeared in his grip. Without hesitation, he swung his weapon down at the two. Warning: this is just a concept. The Grand Mistwheel Omniverse has 5 big parts called multiverse sectors. Each multiverse sector has many domains, like the Eternal Tao domain. Inside a domain, there are many multiverses, such as the Heavenly Tao World multiverse. Each multiverse can have just one great world, or it can be a multiverse that contains many universes, realms, and pocket dimensions. Grand Mistwheel Omniverse. Multiverse Sector, X5. Domain, Eternal Tao Domain. Multiverse Heavenly Tao World Multiverse, Great Local World. Universes, realms, pocket dimensions. The 5-pillar realm. Central Multiverse Sector, All Law, The Writer, Mix All Element, Fanfiction. Eastern Multiverse Sector, Tao Law, Heavenly Tao, Immortal Cultivator, Marital Master, Cultivation. Western Multiverse Sector, Divine Magic, Gods and Demon Gods, Hero and Demon King, Fantasy. Northern Multiverse Sector, Supreme Physical Law, Civilization, Alien, Earth, Sci-Fi. Southern Multiverse Sector, Faith Supernatural. A Creator God, Angels Demons, Great Old One, Eldritch Horror, Reality Blender, Mystery. Tier System: Tier 1A Normal Level, Tier 2A Superhuman Level, Tier 3A City Level, Tier 4A Island Level, Tier 5A Continent Level, Tier 6A Planet Level, Tier 7A Star Level, Tier 8A Solar System Level, Tier 9A Galaxy Level, Tier 10A Universal Level, Tier 11A Multiversal Level, Tier 12A Megaversal Level, Tier 13A Omniversal Level, Tier 14A Outerversal Level, Tier 15A Transcendent Level, Tier 16A Boundless Level, Tier 17A Absolute Existence Level. The divine mace swung down, and upon impact, it tore through the reality of the origin world, causing cracks to appear. Behind the cracks, revealing the infinite white space here, the foundational space behind all creation within the system world. Boom! Blue and Hunter were struck by the divine power of the mace, experiencing immense pain as both their bodies and souls were crushed. Both were sent flying and crashed onto the floor of the origin star. Vishnu noticed the cracks in reality, and his eyebrows rose in curiosity. He tried to sense what lay beyond the cracks, but felt nothing. Still, his intuition told him that this was the source of all the abnormalities of the chaos-born human and the strange energy artifact. He trusted his intuition because at his level, intuition was not mere assumption, but another form of perception that could vaguely search for the correct answer through the infinite possibilities. He moved toward the cracks, intending to investigate further. But once again, a man and a woman appeared before him, their faces filled with anger. Vishnu was surprised these filthy beings weren't dead yet. Even more shocking was that their condition seemed perfectly fine, with no signs of injury at all. His gaze shifted downward, to the white star emitting intense energy. It was feeding power into the two of them, as if this star were acting as their source of strength. "Invader, you dare!" Hunter roared as he moved at a speed beyond light, instantly appearing behind Vishnu, his sword swinging, aimed at the opponent's neck. Clang! However, His sword did not reach the Wu god's neck. One of Vishnu's hands, holding the divine discus, rose to intercept Hunter's sword that came from behind. Vishnu himself did not even look. Hunter was shocked. Before he could react, the divine discus emitted the power of divine chakra, shattering his sword and then his body. Crash, like a mirror breaking, Hunter disappeared from the face of reality. Blue, gritting her teeth, spread her mechanical wings, which glowed with the blue light of origin energy. Supreme order. Outside our restrictions, Blue shouted, as the origin energy wrapped the reality of the whole universe. The laws of the origin world followed Blue's command and began to restrict Vishnu's power. The pressure of the whole universe pressed on the Wu god intensively. Vishnu's anger rose from his heart, almost turning him into a fiend, not because he was restricted, but because a filthy spawn of chaos dared to use the power of order before him. He was one of the Trimurti. He was the preserver, protector, and a broken bar. The Lord of Order. How dare you imitate my divinity before me? Vishnu roared with anger. He moved his body slightly. It was just a small movement, but the laws that restricted him shattered immediately. The backlash from the broken order caused Blue to suffer severe injury. Blue blood leaked from her lips as she quickly regained her pose, ready to attack the Wu god again. However, a broken bar flew. A divine arrow shot from the Wu god pierced her chest, causing a large hole to appear. Her mechanical internal organs sparked as blue blood flowed out. She once again fell to the ground, like a bird being shot down by a hunter. Vishnu, who was holding the bow, lowered it when he saw the woman fall. He sensed that the white star was once again emitting powerful energy, sending it to 2.1 to rebuild the man's body and soul, and the second to restore the woman's condition. He was quite interested in this white energy, as its essence was so profound. The energy structure blended all the laws equally, yet it was still able to reach the highest law's capacity. This energy was the embodiment of omnipotent power. He kept his curiosity in check, then raised his divine mace. He smashed it down on the white star. Doom. The massive white star was struck. It collapsed and exploded. Boom. Due to its massive size, it was not destroyed entirely, only half of it was affected. The side that was smashed by the mace was broken into countless pieces. The broken pieces drifted through space aimlessly. Some disappeared into deep space, and some crashed against other planets far away from the source. Tremble. Vishnu was once again surprised by this dimensional world. He sensed the entire dimensional world trembling, as if it was about to collapse. So this white star was the dimensional core of this world. I can't destroy it, Vishnu murmured. If he destroyed it, this dimension would also collapse, which was not what he wanted. Vishnu's eyes narrowed, as he sensed that the white energy seemed to be regenerating the white star back to its original state at a visible rate. I declare, you shall not proceed. Vishnu extended the divinity of order, stopping the white energy's action, since he did not want the annoying pests to come back soon. He turned his attention to the cracks in reality, as the dimensional world's laws slowly closed the space gap. He moved before it and used his hand to rip it apart, widening the gap further. He did not dare move his own body inside, since this place was unknown. He could only observe it through the all senses power. As he continued to observe this place, his expression grew solemn and grim. He was confused by what he discovered. This isn't just a soul dimension? No, it is a deeper layer than that. It is a true soul dimensional broken bar. Vishnu was further confused. Everything involved in this case-born human was beyond his knowledge. How could the soul dimension of a mortal being house an entire lesser dimensional world as perfect as this? Why had the mortal soul not shattered under the immeasurable pressure of a dimensional world? While he observed, he noticed something inside the infinite white space. He further extended the all-sensing power to focus on what he had noticed. Deep within the true soul dimension, he discovered a massive red orb concealed there. His body and soul trembled at the sight of the massive red orb, reminding him of the day his great local world was destroyed. The entire world had been swallowed by one entity. He could never mistake it. The red orb bore over 90% resemblance to the entity in his memory. The chaos will. As if the red orb sensed it was being observed, countless chaotic eyes suddenly snapped open on its surface, all gazing directly at Vishnu. Immediately, An immeasurable pressure began pressing down on Vishnu's soul. Crack! His soul cracked instantly, almost shattered. He quickly withdrew his all-sensing power, limiting the damage caused by the red orb. Still, he was seriously injured from the soul damage, with golden blood leaking from his eyes and mouth. The red orb nearly destroyed this incarnation's soul with the immense pressure of its existence hierarchy. His eyes turned red, and he changed his mind. This dimension world was no longer considered a treasure to him. It housed the chaos will. I will destroy it. Our broken bar, Vishnu murmured with cold in his tone. In truth, this was a rare opportunity. Under normal circumstances, not even his main body could inflict any harm on the chaos will. However, the aura he sensed from the chaos will earlier, its true essence still had a hierarchical existence higher than he saw, but he could tell its raw power was weak. It could be destroyed. Shing! The sword soared through the space's vacuum at a speed that was beyond time, the four-dimensional mechanics descending, causing the sword to overlap itself infinitely. Even with the infinite power of the sword, Vishnu, who was now injured, was still able to catch it with his two fingers. But unlike last time, golden blood leaked from a small cut on his fingertip. Hunt noticed the golden blood, and his solemn expression got better. So you are not invincible, Hunter mocked. Vishnu was shocked that he bled. It seemed like the soul wound had made him weaker to the point of being hurt by a mere universe-tier being. Anger rose. He unleashed his full divine power and obliterated everything around him, including the man who held the sword, rendering his body and soul shattered. A filthy world that houses chaos like this should not exist. Vishnu roared. He summoned the shining sword before him. The sword glowed with an intense divine aura as if it could destroy everything. Supreme Order, open the divine world, Blue shouted. Behind her, the gate of the divine world materialized. It snapped open, and then 12 figures quickly dashed out from it. Vishnu's angry eyes swept across the 12 figures. Their auras resembled his. A primordial god? Vishnu exclaimed in surprise. He recalled that this world possessed perfect laws, making it possible for a primordial god to be born. Why do the primordial gods side with chaos? It doesn't matter, Vishnu roared, gathering all of his divine power into the shining sword, his eyes gazing at the white star below. Supreme Order. The third system race, the primordial tower system, come into being, Blue shouted. Suddenly, the white star, the source of origin, glowed with blinding radiance, releasing a massive torrent of origin energy that enveloped all 12 primordial gods at once. When being enveloped by the massive torrent wave of origin energy, instantly, the bodies of the 12 primordial gods dissolved into streams of pure white light, each one radiant and sacred. The beams spiraled upward, converging into a single blinding pillar that pierced the heavens. While the source of origin, an endless tide of origin energy surged, fueling the process. The pillar of white light expanded vertically, extending higher and higher without end, as if trying to bridge the void itself. Vishnu raised the shining sword, watching the scene with shock. He didn't understand what had happened. What he saw was the essence of 12 primordial gods suddenly merging into one. This was barbaric and unnatural to him. He was also a primordial god of his universe, and he understood well the pride of primordials. There was no way a primordial would willingly merge with another, let alone 12 at once. These spawns of chaos were so evil. They controlled the will of the primordial gods. Vishnu gritted his teeth in anger. In all of known reality, only one thing could truly seize control over the will of others: a broken bar. The chaos. He would not allow it to exist any longer. The shining sword glowed brightly with golden light. Its divine power reached its peak, and Vishnu gazed at the white star that he assumed to be the source of all evil, at the core of this abominable dimensional world. He swung the sword down. A massive wall of light emerged from where the tip of the shining sword had slashed through, dividing heaven and earth with its golden bright light and supreme sharpness, stretching toward its target. The wall of light was so bright that it was as if the entire world was illuminated with golden light. However, before the wall of light could reach the white star, a blinding pillar appeared before it, causing the two to crash against each other. The impact was indescribably. The shockwave ripped apart the foundation of the origin world, and one after another in the space cracks in reality emerged here and there. The blinding pillar slowly lost its bright light upon the crash, revealing its true appearance. It was a colossal tower made of wood, stone, and metal. The architecture looked ancient and primordial. It also emitted a radiance of dominance and divinity. It was a structure that defied mortal comprehension. The tower was as colossal and vast as a galaxy cluster, its base stretching across the stars. As for its height, none could say. Its peak had already pierced through the void, vanishing into the unknown, as though it stretched on forever. Even with its all-powerful and impressive appearance here, multiple cracks began to emerge on its structure from being crushed by the wall of light. Vishnu's eyes narrowed as he thought that the new entity formed from the essence of the 12 primordial gods was more impressive than he had expected, almost crossing the realm of the universe tier into a higher tier. However, this was not enough to stop him. Crash! The colossal tower was cut in half by the wall of light. The tower fell the moment it came into existence. The wall of light did not stop there. It continued to travel and finally reached the white star. The wall of light pressed down on the white star's surface, slowly cutting through the star, causing the whole system world to tremble violently. The dragons in the origin world and the demigods in the divine world are all beings inside the system world could sense that the whole world was trembling, and natural disasters occurred one after another. The situation did not look good, as if the world was about to end. Blue is standing in front of the small altar that rests above the origin star's surface. She gazes at the small marble at the top of the altar. It was the marble universe, the important treasure of her master. She will protect it with all her might. She turns her gaze to the incoming wall of light that is slowly reaching her location. She squeezes every bit of her power and capacity, her wings glowing with blue light, and points her fingertip at the massive wall of light that is large enough to cover her entire field of vision. Supreme order. Let all laws converge here. Manifest the chains of order, Blue shouts. As she commands, all the threads of laws emerge from the fabric of reality, converge together, and manifest into the chains of order. The silver chains that glowed with blue light emerge directly from the fabric of reality, stretching infinitely toward the wall of light. The chains attach themselves to the wall of light to restrict its movement. The chains are extremely tight due to the wall of light's enormous pulling power. The chains of order almost break from the inner stress, but they succeed in their work. The wall of light stops moving forward. Vishnu's smiling expression completely disappears from his face, leaving only anger. He almost looks like a fiend, if not for his divine aura. Again and again and again and again a broken bar. Vishnu murmurs in a cold tone. He extends his hand and waves it across all directions. I declare, this domain is mine. Vishnu shouts. The laws within the system world begin to move in a confused motion, as the two order powers clash. One has authority from the dimensional lord, the other has a higher existence hierarchy. The system world's laws are in a state of stillness, unable to move. The chains of order, losing their infinite power supply, began to break one after another. Blue turned pale as she saw what was happening. Suddenly, Hunter appeared before Blue, facing the wall of light while lowering his body and holding the sword at his waist. Hunter yelled. He had just resurrected, and seeing the situation was not great, without hesitation he gathered all his power into the sword, and the sword glowed with the blinding white light of origin energy. One ultimate sword. Hunter uttered the ultimate skill's name to activate it. Shing. The wall of light that could divide everything. Now it's its turn to be divided. Instantly, a white line appeared at the edge of the wall of light. The white line stretched from its end to its origin. Crash. The wall of light shattered. Vishnu was shocked to see his divine sword fail. He was even more shocked when he noticed a shallow cutting mark appearing across his chest from side to side. Golden blood seeped from the minor wound. The real pain was not from the wound itself but from his pride. He was hurt by an inferior being twice. Vishnu's gaze noticed the colossal tower appear alongside the opponents on the white star's surface. It was now in perfect condition, as if it had never been crushed. Good. Vishnu sneered as he saw the spawn of chaos line up, waiting for the end. Vishnu decided to go all out. He brought out the most powerful weapon he had. The divine discuser, a circular disc-like weapon with sharp edges, appeared above his palm. It was a replica of the Sudarshana chakra that his main body wielded, and even though it was a replica, its ability was no different. It was still a powerful weapon. The divine discus gradually enlarged itself. At first, its size was so small that it only circled Vishnu's fingertip. Then it became bigger and bigger from a 1-meter radius, then 10, 100, 1000, 10,000 a broken bar. Finally, it was as large as the sun, and it continued to grow bigger as if it could infinitely enlarge. A smiling expression appeared on his face. "Consider this as a mercy," Vishnu said. After that, he threw the divine discus at the white star, Blue, Hunter, and the 12 primordial gods within the tower, plus a new system race that was the primordial tower itself. All turned pale as they sensed the power of this divine discus clearly. It wasn't anything they could resist. While the divine discus moved, it tore away a large part of the fabric of space in the system world and revealed the infinite white space behind it. Little did Vishnu know that his action triggered the primal instinct of certain people. The divine discus moved forward slowly, at the same rate as the former wall of light too, as if it was the tradition of the Wu god to kill opponents slowly. Hiss! The cat's hissing echoed throughout the whole system world, and the immense energy blade of its claw slash moved across the ever-expanding universe. It crashed against the divine discus. Clang! Crash! The claw energy blade shattered instantly under the immense power of the divine discus. Even if it could not stop the divine discus's movement, it still awakened other spirits of rebellion. Blue's mechanical wings spread as she pointed her finger to exert the power of order. Hunter's sword once more glowed with white light, ready to unleash a devastating sword slash. The primordial tower glowed and then sent the 12 primordial gods out. Their aura was different from before, and now their strength was not much inferior to Blue and Hunter. Then the grey cat appeared out of nowhere, facing the divine discus alongside the other system races. Hiss! The cat roared furiously. The divine discus, the size of a galaxy cluster, rotated its sharp edge forward. As it moved, its blade ripped apart the fabric of the universe's space with every passing moment, leaving behind a trail of infinite white space here, like a stroke of white paint across the darkness of the universe. Even though the divine discus appeared to move slowly when viewed from afar, one must not forget it was crossing the vast distances of the universe. If measured by human science, its speed would be calculated at 99.999999999% of the speed of light. The battle scene between the system world's side and the invader is so immense that it can be perceived from all directions across the origin world's universe. In the vast universe, there was a volcanic planet. Stanek, the primordial fire dragon, gazed at the universe above his volcanic planet. His dragon eyes vaguely perceived the battle unfolding at the heart of the origin. His dragon senses, he could feel the auras of the beings involved. One side emitted a familiar presence here: the system gods, the supreme gods of the universe, beings of even higher rank than his own patron god, the primordial dragon god. The other side was completely unfamiliar, yet far more powerful than even the system gods. The impact of the battle reached his planet, causing it to tremble. Volcanoes erupted rapidly, as if the planet were on the verge of explosion. This sight caused his children and fellow dragons to tremble in fear. It was their first time experiencing such a calamity. It was also Stanek's first time witnessing the might of such supreme beings firsthand, and it ignited a deep desire within him. He wanted that power. Papa Broken Bar, the small red-scaled dragon beside Stanek, muttered. She noticed her father's expression darken and couldn't help but worry. Stanek withdrew his dark desires back into the depths of his heart when he heard his daughter's voice. Looking at her cute small head, he couldn't help but soften. "Don't worry. Papa will not let anything bad happen to you," Stanek stated. "Papa da bust!" the small dragon cried, wrapping her small claws and wings round Stanek's hind leg. Stanek's mood was great. He slammed his gigantic tail against the floor multiple times. "My lord, a Broken Bar, could the dragon god protect you, sir Broken Bar?" one of the big red dragons standing behind Stanek asked timidly. Anger surged through Stanek's heart, causing his wings to glow red hot. "How dare you ask something like that? Are you a heretic?" Stanek roared. The big red dragon, who had only asked out of fear, turned pale upon realizing his mistake. No, Lord. This is just a misunderstanding. I didn't mean to blaspheme," he stammered, waving his claws. "I forgive you this once. Don't repeat your mistake." Stanek roared. Stanek swept his gaze across all the dragons who had gathered to seek salvation. Swallowing his annoyance, he remembered his duty as the apostle of the dragon god. "Listen, a broken bar, we pray to the Lord, a broken bar, may he bring victory to our world," Stanek uttered. The heart of the origin is the central region of the origin world's universe where the source of the origin is located. Drakroma, the primordial god of all elements, opened his massive jaws. A surge of multicolored flame from his lungs gathered and compressed in his mouth before he released a mighty dragon breath. The multicolored energy beam bursts upward, ripping through the vacuum and crashing against the divine discus. Boom! The other primordial gods followed Drakroma's action. Erden, the primordial god of life and nature, conjured countless worldly roots, forming trial flaws to obstruct the path of the divine discus. Morthus, the primordial god of death and soul, swung his death scythe, unleashing the inescapable power of death. Celion, the primordial god of space, and Kronos, the primordial god of time, the twin primordials combined their powers to create an infinite space-time pocket dimension and threw it at the divine discus, hoping to trap the weapon within the endless maze. The other primordial Sauriel, the primordial god of creation. Diaboras, the primordial god of destruction. Kos, the primordial god of chaos. Logos, the primordial god of order. Arachne, the primordial god of fate and destiny. Eternus, the primordial god of infinity. And finally, Balan, the primordial god of balance. Each executed their own mighty attacks. Each move was more powerful than anything they could unleash before becoming a system race. Now, with access to origin energy, their power has evolved to an entirely new level. However, a broken bar, despite all the power-ups they had, it was all useless. The divine discus crushed the dragon breath, crushed the trial flaws, crushed the pocket dimension. It crushed everything in its path without showing a single wisp of effort. Hunter was shocked. Even though he was still stronger than the primordial gods, if he had to face all of their combined attacks, he would have to give it his all. Yet, the divine discus ignored it all as if it were meaningless. Hiss! Yusa roared, while releasing her energy claws strike against the incoming divine discus. Just earlier, she had been happily relaxing while her servant massaged her tired muscles from fighting the Rakshasa. Suddenly, the shockwave reached her planet, causing chaos. She had to make a move. But who would have thought of the one being she and her human did not want to face the most? The Wu god. It even invaded her human's private world. That was unacceptable. And most importantly, where was her human? Why hadn't he shown up yet? She could still sense their soul connection. That meant he wasn't dead yet. Yunsu gathered all the power she had in this world. Yunsu herself was not a system race, but Hengsheng had given her access to origin energy. Due to the origin energy she had, she could consider herself a full system god in this world. Even though the amount she could draw wasn't as much as a true system race, origin energy was still origin energy. Just a wisp of it was enough to bring one to tier 10 power level of the universe tier. A beast ball of converging power formed before her, made of multiple bloodline essences. One of those essences included the bloodline of the Preserver. Vishnu noticed his bloodline resonating with the cat demon standing against him. His eyes turned red with anger as he roared, "Thief, stealing my sacred bloodline." He summoned his bow once more, drew it, aimed the arrowhead at the cat demon, and fired. "Supreme order. Let all laws converge here, manifest the spear of order," Blue shouted, as she commanded. All the threads of laws emerged from the fabric of reality, converging together and manifesting into the spear of order. A pillar of light appeared before her. She quickly grasped it and threw it at the incoming arrow. Boom! The spear was destroyed, but the arrow still moved forward. Blue's face turned pale. Yunsu, unlike her and the other system races, could not be resurrected after death. Blue vanished and reappeared before Yunsu, hoping to use her body as a shield. Fortunately for both of them, the primordial tower made a move, appearing before the arrow and using its colossal structure to stop it. Boom! The arrow was stopped, yet the damage it caused was not small. The impact caused a massive dent in the tower's body. If it were an ordinary building in the mortal world, a dent of this size compared to its whole structure would have been enough to make it crumble. D don't wanna break a broken bar. Prim doesn't wanna break a broken bar. The crying voice of the little girl rang from within the primordial tower. Her voice trembled as she was seriously hurt. If Hengsheng had heard it, his heart would have ached, since the child was a soft spot for humans with an earth person mindset. Vishnu was annoyed that nothing was going his way. Due to his injury, all of his minor moves were weaker than before, and had no effect on these spawns of chaos. Only grand movers like his divine discuser had the power to finish the job, destroy the White Star and completely obliterate this abominable dimensional world for good. Struggle all you want. Your fate is already sealed with my divine might. Chaos shall not prevail. Vishnu roared, pouring more divine chakra into his mighty divine discus. The divine discus moved 10 times faster, and its size also increased. It was now 10 times larger than the origin star. Ultimate slush, Hunter roared, his voice echoing through the battlefield as his blade tore forward. Ching. The blue blade energy, similar to the wall of light the Wu god had used earlier, manifested before Hunter and instantly crashed against the divine discus. Meow. Meanwhile, Yansu roared and released the beast ball she had charged for so long. Though small, the beast ball was condensed with a mysterious aura. Boom. Yet their attacks met the same fate as all the others. They couldn't even leave a dent on the divine discus. Useless. You all shall fall. Vishnu roared, pushing his hand forward to accelerate the divine discus's movement. Doom. The sound of atmospheric destruction rang out as the divine discus approached the surface of the origin star. Everyone standing against the enemy on the origin star turned pale when they saw the divine discus had already reached them. It was too late to stop it. They no longer knew what to do, except for one. Meow. Yansu cried out softly, as if she had noticed something. From Vishnu's point of view, as the divine discus was about to crash into the white star, suddenly, it stopped moving. Vishnu was shocked, unable to comprehend what had happened. He tried to push his hand forward to move the divine discus, but it wouldn't budge. It was as if it had been locked in place. What did you do? Vishnu roared at those spawn of chaos below. He didn't truly expect an answer, yet a calm voice responded, a voice whose source he couldn't sense. I just grabbed it, the voice said casually, as if what had just happened was of no importance. Vishnu's eyes narrowed. He unleashed his all-sensing power across the entire universe, trying to locate the source of the voice here, yet he found nothing. You don't need to look for me. I'm really in front of you, the voice rang out again. At the same time, cracks began to form along the edge of the divine discuser, the very edge that was about to strike the white star. Crack. The fractures spread so rapidly that they had covered the entire divine weapon just in the blink of an eye. Vishnu's eyes widened. Before he could even have a chance to process what was happening, the divine discus shattered into countless pieces. Crash. The destruction of the divine discus caused a massive backlash to the incarnation's soul. Golden blood burst from Vishnu's eyes, ears, and mouth. It splattered across his body, coating his blue skin until it looked as if it were bathed in golden mercury. Vishnu groaned, regaining his composure a moment later. He looked forward with his naked eyes, ignoring the trillions of pieces of the shattered divine discus. Then, he finally saw the man behind the voice. He was not unknown to Vishnu. It was the Kaz-born human Lan Hengsheng. Hengsheng stood midair in front of the other residents of the system world, facing the Lord of all sensi Vishnu who hovered far away in space. He slowly pulled back his right hand, the very hand he had used to crush the divine discus a moment ago. Hengsheng examined the state of his system world. It was a complete mess on the brink of destruction. The only reason it still held together was because the origin source had yet to be destroyed. The other aspects weren't looking great. The laws were chaotic, space-time was distorted, and the dimensional boundaries were on the verge of collapse, nearly causing the parallel universe convergence. Then he saw the infinite white space here, his former mind space here, looming in the background of the system world space above the origin source. He had never once imagined something like this could happen to his system world. Yet, it still did. His new life in a world filled with immortals and gods is anything but predictable. Vishnu gazed at the chaos-born human, assuming this man was an agent of chaos. After all, how else could he walk the earth with the true soul of chaos will inside him? How could you break my divinity? Vishnu roared. He was stalling for time, gathering his divine chakra with the intent to break through the dimensional world's wall and escape. The fact that he couldn't sense this man's presence meant one thing: his opponent now wielded power beyond his own. Hengsheng looked at Vishnu and immediately noticed his intent. He wouldn't give Vishnu a chance to act any further. "Because I am supreme," Hengsheng said calmly. With a simple wave of his hand, he strips away all of Vishnu's power. Vishnu's face turned pale in shock. He couldn't believe that the agent of chaos could hold such a high-level existence hierarchy. Just his will alone was enough to render him powerless. One thought flashed through his head. No, he's not just an agent of chaos," Vishnu thought, as his consciousness began to fade. Hengsheng put the Wu god into a deep sleep and began to consider what to do with him. He was quite surprised that the Hindu gods were actually real, especially since their appearances almost exactly matched the descriptions in the books on Earth. Unbelievable. If the Hindu gods were real, then what about other godlike beings from different mythologies? Were they real too? Hengsheng made a mental note to explore this mystery once he grew stronger. Finding the myths was now on his checklist. Master. Hunter jumped and hugged Hengsheng's waist. He cried, relieved that they were finally safe. Master. A broken bar blue stood closely, her expression also filled with relief. This event was the most dangerous that had occurred upon them. Meow broken bar, meow broken bar, meow broken bar. Yansu complained that he was too late, causing her trouble. Then she disappeared, going back to her cat planet. Ungrateful cat, Hengsheng thought. It's okay now. Let's fix the world first, Hengsheng said to everyone who was present in the origin source. Hunter let go of Hengsheng's waist and followed Hengsheng's command. Blue. Hengsheng uttered her name. As she was the system world administrator, he gave her authority to lead others. Yes, Master, Blue answered. She knew her duty well, and she began to command the laws and arrange the cosmic order, like on the first day when the system world was created. Other primordial gods also helped. This mess mainly happened in the origin world's universe, but it still affected the divine world greatly. They had many things to fix. Only those who had nothing to do were Hunter, the primordial tower, and himself. Hunter was basically a guardian of the system world of the fighting force. Other than battling, he was useless. The primordial tower was just born in a rush and did not even have an assigned task. She was a poor system race that did not even have a clear system concept, since she was born unprepared. As if the primordial tower sensed Hengsheng's thought, a little girl's voice rang from the tower. Aren't you my master? Why are you being so mean? Hengsheng's heart sank. He had no idea how to respond. Hunter, take care of your little sister. What kind of older brother lets his sibling cry like this? He deflected, tossing the problem away without hesitation. What? I didn't even do anything, Hunter exclaimed. But Hengsheng didn't budge, firmly ordering him to go comfort the crybaby system race. Hengsheng gazes at the primordial tower system, secretly calculating her power compared to other system races. Her raw capacity was immensely more than both Blue and Hunter combined, but she lacked a system concept of her own due to being born by the essence of other beings. For this reason, she couldn't fully exert her full might as a system race. Hengsheng gazed through the divine world. He observed the primordial gods and noticed their essences were loosely bound to the primordial tower system, putting them in a similar state to Yansu. They were considered as a full system race. Hengsheng thought for a second. He believed he could fix both the tower system and the primordial gods, making them perfect. However, that is for later. He still has things to do now. He gazed at the sky above. Waving his hand, he closed the reality gap, making the white space in the universe's background disappear. He gazed at the source of the original. It was badly damaged. He waved his hand and returned it to its original state. He gazed at the threads of laws in the fabric of reality. Some were broken beyond Blue's ability to repair. He, as the maker, had to do this job. He waved his hand, and the threads of laws were repaired. Hengsheng continued to fix the things that were beyond others' ability to repair, one after another. Before long, the only things that remained broken were those within reach of others, so he felt it was important to let others take on the experience of fixing them themselves. Hengsheng gazed across his system world. He was proud of his creations, they were beautiful and promising. At first, he was quite angry about what Vishnu did to his world, but he realized that this invasion was not all bad. It actually opened the door to new possibilities for his world. For example, the broken pieces of the origin source. At first, he considered collecting them all, not letting them roam around, but he discovered that some of the pieces had fallen onto random planets and changed the environment in unpredictable ways. Hengsheng deduced whether this change was good or not. He got the answer that it would bring benefit to the world, so he kept it that way, letting the countless pieces plant their seeds all over the origin world. Crack. Broken bar space instability. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed as he noticed the space around the origin star beginning to crack again, even though he had just fixed it a moment ago. He had already ensured everything was in the right place. Could there still be hidden damage? Hengsheng carefully observed the surroundings to uncover the cause of the space cracking, ensuring he didn't miss anything. Soon, he found the cause. Hengsheng gazed at the Wu God of Vishnu, who hovered unconsciously in space. Hengsheng gazed at the unconscious Wu God before him, considering how to dispose of it. He didn't kill immediately, there might be hidden consequences for acting recklessly without understanding the full picture. Especially this time he had to be extra careful. The other side was far too powerful. If the Wu God hadn't carelessly stepped into his territory, he wouldn't have had any chance to turn the tables. After all, people don't know what they don't know, and he wasn't about to make trouble for his future self. However, first, he had to stop Wu God from bringing more harm to his system world. Hengsheng conjured an isolated barrier, isolating both himself and Wu God from the rest of the system world. A transparent white cube-shaped barrier immediately formed around them. Hengsheng glanced toward the system world's space. The cracks in the space had stopped spreading, and the universe was slowly mending itself. He nodded in satisfaction. The reason behind the spatial instability was simply Wu God was too powerful. His mere presence exceeded what the system world's dimensional structure could contain. If the system world was a cup of water, then Wu God's presence was the overflow that spilled beyond its limits. Currently, the system world's dimensional level could only contain beings up to tier 10 at most, but Wu God's power clearly exceeded that limit. Hengsheng couldn't raise the world's threshold either, as that was beyond his authority. After all, the system world wasn't just an imagination world like when it was still a mind space anymore. It was connected to reality outside. If he wanted to raise the system world's dimensional level, he had to follow the universal laws like the heavenly Tao world had. His only option to stop the spatial instability was to isolate Wu God with his own power. He carefully examined Wu God's body and soul. Soon he finished, and the result was just as he expected. If he killed Wu God right away, it would definitely bring big trouble to himself. He discovered that Wu God's soul before him was connected to somewhere else outside the system world. This connection could be used to send information to the other side of the link. When it triggers, death also seems to be one of the triggers. Hengsheng recalled the quest he had. It said this Wu God before him was an incarnation. He didn't even need to guess. The other side of the link was definitely the original Vishnu. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed. He did not know either if Wu God's incarnation had sent any information to the original Vishnu before being defeated. He had to find out. Hengsheng's eyes glowed with golden light that emitted a mysterious aura, and he gazed at the void of space in the system world. His vision broke through time. It allowed him to observe past events. He focused on observing from the start. From the first moment, Wu God stepped into the system world through his every action. Hengsheng's heart sank when he saw Wu God suddenly injured for an unknown reason. When he peered into the infinite white space near Hengsheng's former mind space, a question rose in Hengsheng's mind. What just happened? How was Vishnu injured? Does my mind space have a defense mechanism? Hengsheng thought. The mystery of his unique power was never easily answered, and he knew it. Hengsheng continued to observe everything Wu God did, especially focusing on the soul link. Eventually, reaches the scene where Wu God was put to sleep by his past self. Unexpectedly, some strange event, unrelated to Wu God. The event occurred to him. When Hengsheng observed the situation, his past self appeared to notice his gaze. His past self looked back at him, and in that moment, their eyes met. Suddenly, his memory became confused, as if it was being overwritten. It didn't stop there. It repeated again and again, the same memory crashing into itself, forming an endless loop. Hengsheng waved his hand to eliminate the side effect of time, causing the loop to stop. Hengsheng was surprised by the unexpected event. I should not mess with time. If something like this happened to my real body, I would become insane, Hengsheng murmured. Hengsheng learns one or two things about the mystery of time firsthand. Luckily, he was put to sleep before the information was sent, Hengsheng murmured. From his observation, Wu God's incarnation did not send any information through the soul link until the last moment. He attempted to, but that action failed because he was put to sleep before he succeeded in sending. Still, he could not kill Wu God's incarnation anyway because it would trigger a soul link. He could not block or sever the soul link either, since it seemed to be protected by an unknown power. Hengsheng thought for a second. Could I remove the incarnation's memory before killing him? Would that work to prevent the original Vishnu from knowing about me? Hengsheng quickly performed divination to see whether his idea would work or not. The result was satisfying. The chance his idea would work was around 99.999%. It was a good number in his opinion, even though he knew if something was not 100%, there would always be a chance he would hit the jackpot. Hengsheng placed his hand on Wu God's forehead, about to wipe out the opponent's memory. Suddenly, a flash of thought went through his head. Hengsheng smiled as he had a new idea. It would be a waste if your countless years of existence were wiped out just like that. Let me have it then, Hengsheng said, his tone no different from a third-rate villain's. Hengsheng pulled out the cloud of transparent energy from Wu God's head with his bare hand. This cloud of transparent energy was Wu God's pure memory without any other shade of spirituality. Because he did not want to deal with hidden problems later, he carefully extracted only the memory and nothing else mixed in. Hengsheng ensured there was no memory left within Wu God's head. After that, he destroyed Wu God's body and soul, turning them into small particles. Hengsheng clearly saw the soul link trigger when Wu God's soul shattered. It packed one small piece of soul fragment with Wu God's empty memory and sent it through the link, instantly disappearing from the system world. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed. It seemed like he hit the jackpot. The information that was sent through the soul link was not entirely empty like he had hoped for. It seemed to have some unknown hidden method to record the last moment of Vishnu's incarnation before being sent back. The original Vishnu would know who killed his incarnation. Hengsheng shook his head. It could not be helped. He had already done the best he could. The other side's methods just could not be underestimated. Hengsheng was not too disappointed. The other side just knowing his face here, what could he do with just that little information? He shifted his attention to the cloud of particles that glowed with profound essence. It was the remains of Vishnu's incarnation. Aside from the memory, Hengsheng didn't want to waste the other essence of Vishnu's incarnation either. Hengsheng molded the particles, transforming them into dimensional essence. The exchange rate was terribly from a being that could destroy the universe easily. More than 99% of that energy was lost. Still, just 1% of that energy in the form of dimensional essence was still large enough that it could raise the system world's dimensional level multiple times. The dimensional essence flows through the distance to the origin source and fuses with it. Hengsheng senses that the dimensional level of the system world is rising at a visible rate, and the essence of everything within the system world becomes more stable and solid. Hengsheng believes that Blue's real body might even be able to show up in the heavenly Tao world without being assimilated by the heavenly Tao world's laws instantly. Hengsheng calculates in his head a little. He assumes that he needs to enhance the system world's dimension structure with this amount of dimensional essence 9 more times to bring his system world to a stabilized state and stand on equal ground with the 5-pillar realm. He looks at the cloud of transparent energy in his hand, considering how to utilize it. The memory of another worldly god that he isn't sure how long has existed, but he could guess it must be more than millions of years. Taking this much memory into his own head directly didn't sound like a good idea to him. Hengsheng decided to shape the pure memory of the Wu god into a physical form. Soon, a USB flash drive appeared in Hengsheng's hand, filled with the memories of Vishnu's incarnation. He conjured a laptop. Before plugging in the USB, Hengsheng opened the folder and found trillions of files, each containing a year of the Wu god's memory. Hengsheng slapped his head, realizing he'd messed up. How there was no way he could go through them all. The void is not mere space. It is not a vacuum. It is an idea, an unreachable limit of emptiness, a theoretical construct rather than a natural phenomenon. It is what remains when all matter and energy are stripped from a region of space, when nothing is left behind. It is also an imagined space without boundaries or dimensions, like a mathematical point or philosophical nothingness. In reality, the void cannot be created or observed, because there is always something, whether matter, energy, or interference, standing in the way. From this context, one might conclude that the void does not truly exist. It is a concept, not a phenomenon. But that is not entirely true. Indeed, the true void does not exist within reality. But what about outside of it? The answer is yes. The void does exist. Beyond the boundaries of reality, it lies in wait to an emptiness untouched by reality's will. It stretches between realms, across dimensions, and even between the universes themselves. It is the silence behind existence. The infinite void, as most called it are, and some, like the ancient cultivators from the eternal Tao multiverse domain, referred to it as the primordial chaos. The infinite void was the term most beings across realities agreed upon, one of the few things considered truly infinite, or at least, it remained so broken bar until someone proved otherwise, perhaps after an eternity. Compared to it, even the vastness of the universe seemed limited. For all its immensity, the universe still had boundaries. And if one possessed enough strength and means, even those edges could be reached. The ones who stand above the majority and can go beyond their own world, the first thing they would face is the void. However, the void is a dangerous place, not one where one could roam freely. Most could not withstand its nature, especially the weak ones. Similar to an astronaut in the middle of space here, if they don't have a spacesuit, they will die from the harsh environment of space. If one steps into the void without a spacesuit, they will face the same fate as the astronaut without the spacesuit, to death, but with a different approach. They will be eroded to nothingness by the void erosion. A spacesuit could be many things, whether it's their powerful body, immense power, protective artifacts, divine treasures, unique abilities, or cosmic structures like the astral web. These things could protect one from void erosion. Even though it was called the void, it was not truly empty. It was nothing and everything at the same time, more like primordial chaos rather than the void. Despite its dangerous environment, it was not without dwellers. In fact, the void had more history and even more dwellers than most universes. Its rich history was clearly due to its eternal and infinite nature. Many events occurred in the void as eternity unfolded, including battles between powerful beings, the destruction of universes, and even wars between universes. All these legendary events took place within the void. The countless realities rise and fall around the void for eternity, and it continues to be so. Aside from the realities surrounding the void itself was not entirely an empty space. It was filled with ruined realms and dimensions, or ancient ruins. These broken pieces of existence served as both a treasure trove filled with opportunities from destroyed realities, and evidence that proved these fallen realities once existed. When one addresses the dwellers of the void, it does not just mean those who came from the realities either. The void also had its own natives, such as outer gods, great old ones, eldritch horrors, void beasts, etc. These natives of the void were not very welcome in most realities, since they often caused problems and worse. Multiple times, they served as agents of the inevitable cycle of creation and destruction, bringing the great calamities to the realities. The ultimate tribulation of the realities and their peoples. If the realities withstood the ultimate tribulation, they would rise. If they failed, Their destiny was to become another ruined realm and dimension, or ancient ruin, becoming one with the void. Aside from the natives of the void, the majority of void dwellers were beings that came from the realities. There are numerous reasons why these people from the realities decided to reside in the void, or whether to hide from the powerhouses of their home realities. Those who cultivate the power of the void, like many Taoist sects that practice void-related techniques, decide to found their sects in the void realm for a better cultivation environment, or those who had no place to go. These void dwellers mostly resided in the void realm, a realm born from the fusion of many ruined worlds. It resembled the realities surrounding the void, though far more dangerous and chaotic due to the overlapping of countless world laws. The void dwellers, some were lone wolves who often stayed away from others, while some came as a group. Those who want to live as a group form a society of void dwellers, exchanging resources or living close to each other for better protection against the natives of the void. The void did not seem to be a bad place to live if one knew what to do in order to survive there. However, not everyone can settle in the void, at least not forever. This is because some realities have given birth to beings whose very nature is vulnerable to the void. The beings from these worlds require more powerful spacesuits than others, just to survive within the void, let alone settle. There was a stereotype of such realities that most void dwellers knew about. It was the reality where the primordial gods reigned supreme. In most realities, once a primordial god accomplished their purpose, they would soon lose their status as the supreme being in their realities by many methods, depending on that reality's will. Some realities will, without mercy, would kill the primordial gods right away. Some would give them a chance to survive through trials. It was a necessary process for most realities that the primordial gods had to go. If not, there would be no opportunity for other beings to rise and catch up with them. If the beings within a reality do not strive to ascend, then that reality itself will never have the chance to rise. In the case of realities where primordial gods reigned supreme, it meant the will of those realities did not favor the idea of rising higher. They preferred to maintain the status quo and order, which most likely led to them giving birth to beings that were not very adaptive to changes in the laws. This was a worse trait one could have when dealing with the chaotic void laws and their harsh environment. This often happens to realities that emerge with a higher dimensional level than most. The Great Local World, for instance, could accommodate Tier 13 beings from the moment it was born, while most begin at Tier 10 or lower. In the infinite void, within the territory of the Supreme Divinity multiverse domain, one void realm was drifting within the emptiness. In the surrounding void, space and time were not concepts one could easily comprehend. One step could take a person to the edge of the world or not move at all, and time might flow differently for each individual, even moving backward for some. However, within the void realm, such unpredictable chaos did not occur. This void realm was called the Wanderer God Realm. It was an ancient void realm created by a group of wanderer gods who couldn't return to their worlds for various reasons, whether due to exile or because their worlds had already been destroyed. The Wanderer God Realm was immensely vast, as its interior could contain an entire multiverse within it. A vast city floated above the divine white clouds in one corner of the Wanderer God Realm. It was home to the Loka people, led by Lord Vishnu, the only member of the Trimurti to survive the Great Calamity. "My broken bar?" Vishnu murmured. "What's wrong?" Lakshmi asked gently. "One of my incarnations was destroyed," Vishnu said, his voice calm but thoughtful. "Is that so unusual?" Lakshmi asked, unfazed. "What makes this one different?" After all, Vishnu had scattered countless incarnations across the multiverse to gather resources for their plans. It was inevitable that conflict would arise with the native forces of those worlds. Losses were to be expected. The incarnation's memory was wiped clean. Only an image of the killer and a single word returned, Vishnu said, his voice laced with curiosity. "What word?" Lakshmi asked. "Chaos," he replied, narrowing his eyes as the face of a young man with long black hair surfaced in his mind. Suddenly, Vishnu felt an overwhelming sense of danger from the image itself, as if the figure within was about to gaze back at him through the lingering memory. Without hesitation, he erased the memory from his mind, severing the connection. Seeing this, Lakshmi let out a quiet breath of relief. "It seems you may have unknowingly offended a transcendent," she murmured. Within the five-element seal dimension, currently, one man was floating in the middle of darkness, surrounded by five massive pillars. This man seemed to be asleep, his eyes closed loosely, his expression calm, his breath stable. His condition was almost perfect except his right foot was missing. Suddenly, the calm expression on the man's face changed, as if he had become conscious, and then the man's eyes snapped open. Hengsheng observed his surroundings. His eyesight was blurry for some reason, but he was still able to perceive the surroundings with his divine sense. His gaze was on the pillars. He admired their appearance. The pillar structure was otherworldly and majestic. Hengsheng extended his divine sense in multiple directions. As he expected, he couldn't catch anything beyond the darkness, as if this place only had him and the pillars, nothing else. He sensed an unfamiliar yet profound chi within this place. He could not move or control it, and the chi suppressed his movement, pinning him in place. It limited the area he could move to only within the area encircled by the pillars. As expected of the immortal level sealer, broken bar, Hengsheng murmured. Hengsheng tried to move his body, but his movements were sluggish and difficult. His body was numb, refusing to respond as he wished. He recalled something, then concentrated on circulating spiritual chi within his body, trying to eliminate the lingering effects of the method that the Lord of all senses had used on him, putting him in such a pathetic state. When Hengsheng was dragged into this seal dimension by the Wu god, he wasn't unconscious, even if it appeared so. Instead, he could still sense everything, but he couldn't control himself, because he was no longer the lord of his own body and soul. The Wu god had taken control of everything, turning him into nothing more than a puppet. It was a terrifying experience, one he never wanted to face again. The Wu god was no longer present, which made the process go smoothly, as no one was hindering his recovery. Hengsheng circulated his spiritual chi to revive and stimulate his nerves and brain. Soon, he fully regained his sensation. The first sensation that hit him after all of his senses fully recovered was the one of primal sensi, the one that exists to serve all living beings as a danger signal. Without it, a living being wouldn't survive for long in a cutthroat world full of danger. Pain. Hengsheng was already getting used to the pain after everything he had been through. He handled it with composure and calmness. He quickly closed the wound on his leg with his chi and then ordered a divine artifact to transform into a wooden prosthetic foot, temporarily replacing his severed foot. What next? Hengsheng murmured. After Wu God's invasion, there were many things he had to do. He quickly ran through his brain and sorted the problems he needed to prioritize. After making his decision, he quickly gathered information and focused on the immediate problem at hand, getting out of this place. Hengsheng recalled the information about this place that he had learned from the Wu God's memory. It was hopeless. A broken bar, Hengsheng murmured. This dimension was constructed by a high-level seal formation, one that even Vishnu's incarnation, classified by the Universal Tearing Power System as a Tier 11 being, could not escape. He couldn't hope that someone would help him out, or that the cultists would somehow succeed in destroying the seal either, since he had already destroyed them all. He remembered there was still one cultist leader remaining, other than the one from the Thunderclap Blade sect and Jin Da Shan, whom he had just slain. But he didn't think that guy could do anything to Jian Zixuan or the other Golden Sword sect disciples guarding the elemental seal. That left his best chance to get out of here relying solely on himself, whether through the system or other methods, but he doubted it would be that easier. Broken bar. Hengsheng opened the system creation menu from the Supreme Administrator system panel. While he did so, he thought about his main system that had been destroyed. His heart bled at the thought of his lost system points. Even though he shared resources with Heavenly Tao, which sometimes acted as cloud storage for his excess resources, he didn't think he could recover all of his system points. Millions of system points would be lost permanently. Other than his main system, the other systems that were not part of the system race were also destroyed along with it, since those systems use the main system as part of their framework. Currently, he only has two systems that still function. Blue, send me information about space-time, dimensions, and seals, Hengsheng asked. Yes, Master. Please prepare, Blue replied. Hengsheng focused his mind, ready to receive the information. Soon, knowledge about space-time, dimensions, and seals began flowing through his mind. Back before he exited the system world, he knew that his real body wouldn't be able to handle the massive amount of information from the Wu God. He chose to learn small things first to important topics that didn't require deep detail, so he filtered the memory for what he needed to know, such as general knowledge of the tearing power system. He already had a basic understanding of this topic, but with the Wu God's memory, he was able to see the bigger picture. As for the rest of the Wu God's memory, he handed it over to Blue. She was a true member of the system race and could process the information infinitely better than he could. If he wanted to know something, she would act as a search engine for him, digging into the trillions of years of the Wu God's memory. Hengsheng focused his mind on digesting the information he had just received from Blue. He would use it to create an effective system to escape from this dimension. The information he received was not too detailed to the point of being incomprehensible, as Blue had already filtered it so that his current self could process it. Hengsheng quickly created a system based on the knowledge he had. Soon, he finished the framework, and it was time to complete the system by channeling energy to form a system node. The next moment, a group of golden clouds of heavenly Tao appeared out of nowhere. They completely ignored the pillar's presence as if the seal was nothing to them, and began to send a tide of heaven and earth's chi toward Hengsheng's palm. Hengsheng observed above his palm as the system node was slowly formed. This system was created using the most advanced knowledge. Its effectiveness would be superior and unmatched compared to any system he had created before. Before long, the golden clouds disappeared, leaving only the glowing purple system node above Hengsheng's palm. This one is different. A broken bar, Hengsheng murmured. Usually, his system nodes would be blue in color with different shapes and patterns, but this one was purple. He didn't sense any difference other than it being more refined than the other systems. Hengsheng moved the node too close to him before it sank into his forehead and attached itself to his spiritual symbol, and then the system was installed. Ding. System installation in progress. A broken bar. 10% a broken bar. 15% a broken bar. A broken bar. A broken bar. 90% a broken bar. 100%. Ding. System installation successful. Ding. The Dimensional Traveler system is online. Welcome, host. Hengsheng smirked. His new system had an assistant AI installed for assistance as well. It was not a sentinel like a system race, but more like the former Blue. He didn't want to rely on Blue for everything anymore. Since she was now alive, he couldn't just order her around for every single task. I name you Dim, Hengsheng said. Acknowledged. Codename has been assigned. Dim, open the system panel, Hengsheng said. Ding. The Dimensional Traveler System Panel. Host, Lan Hengsheng. Dimensional Authority, Tier 3, upgrade requires 1 million SP. Core ability, Dimensional Shift, Anchor Lock, 03. System functions, Dimensional Map, World Hopping Interface, Timeline Sync, Reality Stabilizer Protocol, Randomized Shift. System Points, 100 million SP. Hengsheng almost fainted when he saw how many system points he had lost. From 400 million system points, he had lost more than 300 million. Hengsheng's eyes turned red. He fumed with rage, his grudge against Vishnu spiking to the heavens. Don't let me find your real body, Hengsheng roared. Hengsheng calmed down and resumed his mission. Let's get out of here. Broken bar, Hengsheng murmured and activated the new system's ability, Dimensional Shift. Ding. Dimensional Shift activation failed. Cause, insufficient dimensional authority. Current dimensional authority, Tier 3. Required dimensional authority, Tier 11. Solution. To activate Dimensional Shift, you must either upgrade Dimensional Authority to Tier 11, spend 100 billion system points to temporarily bypass authority restrictions and attempt the shift. Would you like to upgrade or spend the system points to attempt the shift? Yes, No. Hengsheng almost lost his mind when he saw multiple zeros. Hengsheng curled up in despair within the darkness of the sealed dimension. His current state was no different from when he was 5 years older. The only difference was that he wasn't sucking his thumb. His attempt to escape using the system had failed miserably. The number of system points required to activate the ability was simply too high. The thought of spending that many system points on something he hadn't caused was frustrating. His hatred for Vishnu had already run deep, but now, he wished for more than just a simple revenge. He wanted to make Vishnu's life miserably broken to make him pay for what he had done. Though he could eventually gather those many points if he used his unique system ability wisely and resourcefully, it was clear that it would take a long time. Escape wouldn't be happening anytime soon. He straightened up once more. He'd had enough of drowning in disappointment. Let's test the system function, a broken Hengsheng murmured. He opened Dimensional Map. This function was nothing more than a super map that showed his current location and surroundings. It was like a godlike version of Elgug maps. It was so detailed that it could even display the structure of this sealed dimension and nearby dimensions. And he also discovered that the space of the dimension he was currently in was truly infinite, just as he assumed it was. It had an infinite layer of dimensional walls between this dimension and the outside, and its layers continued to grow as the formation activated. Each layer of dimensional walls supported the others. The result was also infinite strength, not just separate dimensional layers. It was truly amazing. He admired the people who created it. Just how they made use of infinity like it was a common tool. He shifted his gaze to the nearby dimension. It was a dimension of the secret land. Even though the sealed dimension was amazing, it could not compare to the secret land. The secret land's dimensional structure was that of a realm itself, for the complexity, perfection, and other aspects man-made dimensions could not compare with heaven and earth's creation. He didn't even have a word to describe the difference. It simply could not compare. Broken Hengsheng saw Jian Zixuan and the others at the pagoda still fighting the god spawns. They didn't seem to be in much trouble. As the number of god spawns was lower, the rift had already closed, and the god spawns seemed to have completely lost their regeneration ability. He figured it was because the Wu god was dead. The expression of the people fighting there seemed confused, as they didn't understand why the god spawns had suddenly become weaker. Hengsheng scrolled the map to where the Lan Clan cave was located, to see what his cousin was doing, and his heart sank when he saw that the cave interior was completely devastated. What, Blue? What happened to the Lan Clan cave? Hengsheng asked. Since Blue was the administrator, she should know. He was confused as to what had happened, why he hadn't received any report. Master, Blue's tone was filled with guilt, as though she had failed her mission, or rather, she had failed to cover it up. She began to explain what had happened. Hengsheng listened and was soon relieved that nothing deadly had happened to his people. It turned out that the ones who wiped out the Thunderclap Blade sect were his system race, not the disciples of the Golden Sword sect. He also discovered that Blue could exert the power of origin energy within territories under his control. It was a big deal, even though it wasn't the full might of origin energy. It was only tier 3 origin energy, corresponding to the level of her prime system node. What made it a big deal was that it was origin energy, an omnipotent energy that could do anything. Hengsheng began to think about how to utilize it. If a simple method, he could conjure an endless source of tier 3 resources. And if he upgraded Blue's system node, he could obtain even higher tier resources. Hengsheng thought his rise was about to begin with this discovery. From now on, his cultivation would proceed smoothly, and he would become the wealthiest man to ever exist in the cultivation world. He would be printing money endlessly, to the point where even certain countries on Earth would pale in comparison, because, in this world, there was nothing to stop him. Broken Hengsheng lifted his head and laughed with joy and madness. However, it seemed like someone had perceived his evil plan before it could even happen. Golden clouds appeared out of nowhere. Hengsheng's expression turned pale as he could guess what was about to happen next. No, Hengsheng begged, but the heavens did not appear willing to compromise this time. Golden clouds conjured a golden seal and attached it to Blue's prime node, then it vanished. Blue, what did it do? Hengsheng roared. Heavenly Tao has placed a limitation on my use of origin energy within the Heavenly Tao world. Master, a broken bar blue answered. She explained that anything she created using origin energy would now be marked. It could not be sold or exchanged. If this limitation were violated, the thing would disappear. Hengsheng's expression was dark. He was glad that the heavenly Tao had not cut off his use of origin energy entirely. It had only blocked his easy road to becoming the wealthiest man in the multiverse. Even he still has an endless source of resources. But a broken bar. What's the point of having endless wealth if one can't show it off? Hengsheng sighed. In fact, he had already half expected this, since he had long learned that good things never come easily. In the cultivation world, it wasn't hard to guess why those cultists hated the heavenly Tao so much, to the point that they sided with the Wu gods. He resumed his observation. Looking around the Lan Clan cave territory, he finally found his clanmates. It seemed that the destruction of the cave had also opened a new tunnel deep inside the mountain. They appeared to have discovered a new resource point at the bottom of the dark pit. Hengsheng was free, as he probably wouldn't be leaving this place anytime soon. He continued to observe the situation within the secret land to satisfy his curiosity before attempting anything to escape from this place. His gaze left the Lan Clan cave, past the pagoda, and reached the barriers that separated the outer rim from the other zones of the secret land. Hengsheng looked ahead and discovered that this secret land was divided into 5 zones, each separated by a powerful barrier. He noticed that the closer the zones were to the golden pillar, the better the environment became, including the strength and presence of the demon beasts. He saw that in the zone next to the golden pillar, there were 5 demon beasts with the strength of Tier 9 power, Rank 9 demon beasts. The beast that had power equal to that of transcendental mortality realm cultivators. They seemed carefree at first, but Hengsheng noticed them suddenly grow alert, glancing around left and right as if they sensed someone watching them, yet they couldn't find the source. Other than the demon beasts, he saw something he had not seen before on the surface. The demon. Hengsheng gazed at the small town that was located within the 3rd zone. They looked like humans, but he could see that they had beast traits, some obvious, like fur on their arms, and others subtler, like having completely human features except for hair colored like rainbow parrot feathers. Their strength was remarkable too. He noticed many at the Saint realm, and one with rainbow-colored hair at the Transcendent realm. Demon beasts and demons were not the same. A demon was a demon beast that had fully awakened its spirituality and gained sentience. This difference didn't necessarily mean demons were smarter than demon beasts, so it was simply a matter of spirituality. A demon beast could be as intelligent as a genius and as emotional as a woman, yet in the end, they still mostly followed their instincts. Demons, however, were different. Though their instincts remained strong, they transcended it. They could act against thema. Their will had become stronger than their primal urges. Becoming a demon granted them the ability to make choices about their lives. They could follow the path of the Tao and become cultivators. However, they also lost one of the key advantages of being a demon beast, the ability to passively absorb chi and grow stronger simply by living. Hengsheng saw the rainbow-haired one glancing around, trying to find him just like those rank 9 demon beasts. He couldn't help but chuckle lightly. He had successfully pranked a powerful cultivator without facing any consequences. While Hengsheng was enjoying his free time, a thunderous explosion echoed across the secret land, shaking the earth like the wrath of heaven. Boom! What? Hengsheng was startled by the sudden, deafening noise. He quickly turned toward the source, his gaze landing on the outer rim not far from the pagoda at the center of the canyon territory. There, he saw Ita, the golden sword, just as Blue had described. It was firmly embedded in the ground, radiating a faint divine glow. As it slowly disappeared, not far from the sword, a massive vertical tear in space shimmered. Outlined by strands of glittering starlight, it looked like a fissure of reality itself had been unstitched, revealing the astral weave behind. Hengsheng quickly recalled general knowledge he had learned from the Wu gods' memory. What was beyond the rift matched one of them exactly. The astral web. What lay beyond the rift was the astral web, a cosmic structure that connected countless worlds like a vast network, holding together the very fabric of the multiverse. Hengsheng was shocked as he gazed at a massive astral rift tearing open in the middle of 3D space. His expression darkened as he recalled what he knew about it. Normally, the astral web's thread was directly connected to the realm core, but it was hidden within the multi-layered structure of high-dimensional space. It was not supposed to manifest openly in 3D space like this, Hengsheng thought. Then, it was just as Hengsheng had been concerned. The appearance of a high-dimensional structure in 3D space won't come without consequences. The space around the rift was distorted and unstable. Then a broken bar. Crack. The astral rift expanded. As it grew, the rift swallowed part of the realm, pulling it into the astral web beyond the rift like a black hole. The terrain twisted and vanished into a shimmering tear. The rift continued to grow without any sign of stopping. Hengsheng looked at the scene in shock. The incident with the cultists and the Wu god had just ended. He didn't even have time to celebrate his victory before another incident unfolded before his eyes. This is too much. Heavenly Tao. One incident after another. Can't you let me rest for a moment? Hengsheng cursed his fate and directed his complaint straight to the boss of the fate itself. For the Heavenly Tao. Hengsheng observed the rift's expansion as it grew faster and faster. At this rate, the pagoda will be swallowed in an hour. A broken bar, and my Lan Clan cave won't be an exception either. Ma broken bar, Hengsheng murmured. He noticed the presence of a bunch of people near the rift. Hengsheng quickly zoomed the map in for a clearer view, wanting to know who they were. His eyes turned red with anger when he saw the face of the man who seemed to be the group's leader. Oh, it was another cultist leader. Hengsheng tried to recall the man's name. Jian Zixuan had told him on see a broken bar, a broken bar, a broken bar, whatever. Hengsheng instantly knew these geese must be the ones responsible for dragging a high-D structure into 3D space. Their goal? To sabotage everyone after being defeated? What a bunch of sore losers. Ha! Hengsheng exclaimed softly as he saw the cultist group willingly walk into the rift, each one holding hands tightly. Hengsheng thought he might have just witnessed a mass suicide. Even though traveling across worlds through the astral web was safe from the void's erosion, low-level cultivators without the guidance of powerful experts who possessed strong divine senses had no way of knowing what kind of world they were heading toward. It could be a hell realm of the sixth samsara, which was fatal to all living beings. It might be a realm ruled by demons or other hostile races hardly welcoming to human cultivators. Or worse, it could be a forbidden realm, one so dangerous that even true immortals wouldn't dare set foot in it. A group of weak cultivators stepping into the astral web without knowing their destination was like an ancient human venturing into the vast ocean on a small wooden raft, hoping to find safe new land. A complete suicide. Hengsheng thought, maybe they're not committing suicide. Maybe they have a method to find a safe place to land. What should I do? Broken bar, no. What can I do? Hengsheng turned grim as he watched the scene unfold on the dimensional map. Then, Jian Zixuan and the other young cultivators seemed to notice the presence of the astral rift approaching them, yet none appeared panicked. Oh! Hengsheng muttered as he watched Jian Zixuan work on the seal formation table, where 5 elemental seals were already placed. OHHH! Hengsheng exclaimed as he noticed the realm itself beginning to react. A massive surge of heaven and earth's chi gathered, flowing toward the rift, stabilizing its turbulence. Glancing at the dimensional map, Hengsheng's eyes widened. The realm was actively repairing the dimensional damage caused by the appearance of the astral web. The massive rift is slowly narrowing back to where it appeared. So that's why the realm itself didn't repair the dimensional deterioration immediately. When the astral rift appeared a broken bar, it turns out the realm was being controlled, Hengsheng said in understanding. This seal formation can control the power of the realm. A broken bar, Hengsheng murmured. He began to realize just how useful the formation truly was. If it could harness the boundless power of heaven and earth, what couldn't it do? He even wondered if a high-level formation master had the chance to study it in depth, could they possibly replicate the powers of his system? Above all, a broken bar. This might be the reason this dimension came to exist. A broken bar, Hengsheng thought, and he dug into the information about the realm and its core. While he did so, something came up to distract him. Ding! Hengsheng muttered in confusion. Suddenly, A system notification appeared on its own. Without giving any command, he opened it to see what it was about. Quest failed. Quest title: Crisis. Status: Objective failed. The Golden Pillar's seal has been broken. Failure penalty applied. The incarnation of Vishnu, the Lord of all senses, has been unsealed. What? Hengsheng was stunned. He had completely forgotten about the quest. What did it even mean to fail? Wasn't that the Lord of all senses already dead? Ding. Failure penalty application, failed. Status: Failure penalty invalidated. Before he could think further, the massive pillars surrounding him began to tremble violently. Crack. A small fracture carved across the surface, then another, and another. The cracks widened rapidly before his eyes, spreading like spider webs through divine stone. Vina. Boom. A broken bar. A broken bar. Hengsheng was shocked as he had just witnessed the massive pillars shatter into countless pieces one after another. Boom. When the last pillar shattered, Hengsheng felt the seal's power no longer suppressing him. He felt the weight lift from his body. Then, his surroundings began to transform. Slowly, the infinite darkness around him faded, replaced by a light of the outside world taking form before his eyes, the first light after complete darkness, shining in his eyes, hurting his eyeballs. Am I out? What's going on? Hengsheng murmured as he opened his eye and discovered that he stood at the spot where he was being dragged to the sealed dimension, where the rift that had spawned the god spawn used to be located. He felt the ground trembling violently, then his gaze landed on the golden pillar far away at the heart of the secret land. He saw it falling apart. The massive structure of the golden pillar seemed unable to support its own immense weight any longer and collapsed vertically. Boom. Hengsheng was no longer shocked by the absurd events that kept happening non-stop. Only one thought flashed through his mind: to survive. Hengsheng gazed at the dimensional map and observed the situation at the pagoda. The god spawns were all gone. They no longer had any battle. Yet the situation was far from good. He noticed that the formation table and the elemental seal had been completely destroyed, while Jian Zixuan knelt before it, as if in defeat. Hengsheng's eyes narrowed as he shifted his gaze toward the astral rift. Just as he had assumed, with the realm's power disappearing, the rift began to expand once again. Hengsheng closed his eyes to focus on calculating his next move. The destruction of the golden pillar could only mean one thing: the situation on the continent's surface was clear. The Golden Sword sect had somehow lost to the Heavenless Tao cult. When he thought about it, he felt worried about his clan, especially his mother. He quickly zoomed out the dimensional map until it reached beyond the realm core dimension and displayed the situation above ground. Hengsheng's eyes widened at what he saw. The Golden City, once a major city of the Golden Pillar continent, had now become a ruined city filled with countless corpses and seas of flame. This scene ignited wrath in Hengsheng, not just his personal nonsensical wrath, but it was a rage at the human cruelty, at how far people could go for their own benefit. It was a complete disregard for morality, and it was unacceptable. Human. Hengsheng felt disgusted for being one too for a moment. In the inner city, a battle was raging, with countless powerful cultivators and cultists clashing. The Golden Sword sect's gate had been destroyed, and the flames of war showed no sign of calming anytime soon. Above the ruined city, floating mid-air, he saw four figures. Just by their appearance and attire, he could tell they were not cultivators. They were Wu God, or more accurately, incarnations of powerful devas from the great local world. They were attacking the golden pillar non-stop, even though it was already half collapsing. Their sole focus was to destroy the golden pillar, showing no interest in killing the cultivators below. On the dimensional map, Hengsheng discovered that there was another layer of dimensional space above the five-pillar realm. This dimension was not meant for living beings. It had an incredibly durable dimensional structure, served as a battlefield for powerful beings. Hengsheng noticed more than 10 Tier 10 beings clashing within it. In fact, he could not perceive the battle with his naked eyes. He saw nothing on the map, but the data revealed that a battle was occurring. He put aside his curiosity and shifted the dimensional map's display to his clan's territory. What? It's gone. Hengsheng almost panicked when he saw that his clan territory was empty. The land city was also gone, and his house was missing. Everything had disappeared as if the Lan Clan had never existed.